Chapter 1950. Bai Xiaoyun also sensed that something was amiss. Could it be that someone was one step ahead of us and entered this place? From time to time, immortal energy fluctuations would spread out, causing Bai Xiaoyun to be vigilant. I don't know. Let's go take a look. Jiang Qin shook his head and walked towards the direction of the fluctuation. The fluctuation was very strange. Although it was indeed caused by immortal energy, Jiang Qin couldn't sense the other party's cultivation and strength. He couldn't even tell what attribute it was. The more it was like this, the more Jiang Qin took it seriously. It was very likely that the other party was a very powerful rogue cultivator. Passing through the hall, Jiang Qin ignored everything inside and arrived at a wooden door. It's right outside. Feeling the fluctuation getting stronger, Bai Xiaoyun pointed at the door and said, "Crack!" Jiang Qin didn't say anything and pushed it open with both hands. The moment he pushed it open, he and Bai Xiaoyun were ready to fight. But the one in the courtyard wasn't a cultivator. A wooden sword? Looking at the situation outside, Bai Xiaoyun's expression became complicated. In the courtyard, a wooden sword was stabbed into the ground. The whole sword was dark red. The sword was very clean, with only very faint wood patterns. There weren't even any runes or markings. But on the sword hilt, there was a wooden bead. Why does a wooden sword have immortal energy fluctuation? Jiang Qin was a little surprised. He stepped forward and was about to pull it out to see what was going on. But when he got close, the wooden sword suddenly loosened. Then, it stabbed towards Jiang Qin. Does it have self-awareness? Jiang Qin's lips curled into a faint smile. He stepped forward, and a 9-colored sword appeared in his hand. He swung it forward. The two swords violently collided. The huge force produced made Jiang Qin take 2 steps back before he could dissipate the force. Little junior brother, it seems that this sword isn't ordinary. If you have the chance to subdue it, it can become your weapon. Bai Xiaoyun took 2 steps back and stood at the door. I already have the sky-piercing spear. Jiang Qin frowned slightly. However, the wooden sword seemed to understand Jiang Qin's words. Once again, he launched an attack on Jiang Qin. The fierce snowstorm was enveloped by his sword energy and transformed into his own energy. Interesting. Seeing such a wooden sword, Jiang Qin's interest was piqued. Raising his sword, Jiang Qin once again engaged in battle with it. The resulting fluctuations were firmly restrained by the barrier of the main hall and could not be transmitted to the outside. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Jiang Qin found the right place. While the wooden sword was trembling, he suddenly reached out and grabbed it. Then, without thinking, the 9-colored sword in his other hand disappeared. All of his immortal power gathered in the hand holding the wooden sword. From now on, you are my weapon! Controlling it with his mind, Jiang Qin infused all his immortal energy into it. The corner of his mouth curled up into a faint smile. Buzz! When the 9 attributed immortal power completely entered the sword, the whole wooden sword buzzed and burst out with a bright light. A sword art was also transmitted to Jiang Qin's mind. Vermilion Bird Talisman Wooden Sword? Seeing the name of the sword art, Jiang Qin knew the identity of this sword. But the vermilion bird was a spiritual beast race. Before he had experienced 10 reincarnations, when the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was still standing in the immortal world, they had already disappeared for some special reasons. Perhaps there were still some of their clansmen alive, but they must have hidden themselves. How is it? How do you feel? Seeing Jiang Qin subduing the sword, Bai Xiaoyun came over excitedly and looked at the sword. The wooden sword comes with a sword art that has been engraved in my mind. It should be a good sword, but the shape is a bit ugly. Looking at the thing in his hand, Jiang Qin said with some embarrassment. This thing was far less domineering than the sky-piercing spear. Holding the golden spear, the sharp spear light soared into the sky. Anyone could feel the shock. But now he was holding a wooden sword in his hand. Compared to it, it was indeed a bit inferior. Buzz! After hearing Jiang Qin's words, the wooden sword that was originally quiet suddenly broke away from Jiang Qin's hand and pointed the tip of the sword at the tip of Jiang Qin's nose. Okay, I won't talk about you in the future. Although it's not that gorgeous, it looks incomparably simple, like a weapon used by an expert. Jiang Chen was a bit stunned. He quickly raised his hand and said with a smile. After hearing this, the wooden sword was honest and returned to Jiang Chen's hand. This sword looks good, but I don't know how much use it can play. This was the first time Bai Xiaoyun saw a weapon with immortal power. Let's go to the main hall and take a look. Such a big palace, it's impossible for there to be only one sword here. Jiang Chen picked it up again to take a look, and was ready to put it into the storage ring. But before he could aim at the storage ring, the wooden sword once again left his hand. After a few circles in the air, it stuck to Jiang Chen's back and firmly attached to it with its own immortal power. Haha, this sword is too interesting. After seeing this scene with Jiang Chen, Bai Xiaoyun couldn't help but praise. But Jiang Chen just rolled his eyes. He heard of spirit beasts evolving spiritual intelligence, heard of trees evolving spiritual intelligence, but he had never heard of a sword evolving spiritual intelligence. Usually it was more convenient, but once the wooden sword sensed danger in a fight, it would turn around and run away, leaving him behind. What should he do? He would have to rely on the sky-piercing spear. Thinking about it was just thinking. Jiang Chen still didn't dare to say it out loud. He was afraid that the wooden sword would throw a tantrum again. Carrying it, Jiang Chen and Bai Xiaoyun once again returned to the main hall. Although the main hall was imposing, it still exuded an ancient aura. One look and one could tell that it came from hundreds of thousands of years ago. Let's split up, you take the left, and I take the right. No matter what good things you see, put them into the storage ring. Even if you can't sell them, it's still very good for the Tianji Pavilion and the immortal sect to use. After closing the wooden door, Bai Xiaoyun looked left and right and said, Okay. Jiang Chen didn't refute. The two of them split up. Jiang Chen searched the entire palace room by room. Although this place wasn't small, there wasn't anything too valuable. After putting a few passable immortal techniques into the storage ring, Jiang Chen continued to walk further inside. Most of these immortal techniques were of the ice attribute. After leaving the mountain valley, he could give them to the Passion Valley, and then choose some to send to the humble sect. Unlike Jiang Chen, Bai Xiaoyun didn't choose at all, and just took everything she saw into the storage ring, not even letting go of a few low-grade herbs. Using his own words, it was, the Tianji Pavilion had been poor for hundreds of thousands of years, and all the senior and junior brothers were afraid of being poor. Chapter 1951. After searching for a while, Jiang Chen didn't find anything good. Perhaps the best thing in the entire hall was already behind him. Jiang Chen prepared to meet up with Bai Xiaoyun. But just as he turned around, the wooden sword on his back exerted force, and Jiang Chen was almost pulled to the ground by it. Jiang Chen staggered. What are you doing? Exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, Jiang Chen picked it up from his back and asked helplessly. Even though the long sword was held in Jiang Chen's hand, it still pointed forward. You mean you want me to go in there? Jiang Chen raised his head and said, There's nothing valuable in this entire palace, and I'm afraid it's the same if I go in. Moreover, I can't take all the good things out. Wouldn't the Frost Sky clan's patriarch fall out with me? After saying that, Jiang Chen turned around again to look for Bai Xiaoyun. However, the long sword suddenly brought Jiang Chen inside of it. Jiang Chen's whole body was carried up, but he didn't dare to let go, for fear that the wooden sword would disappear in front of him. If he lost it, the swordsmanship in his mind would be useless. About a few minutes later, the wooden sword stopped. Jiang Chen tidied up his messy hair and looked forward. With this look, Jiang Chen was instantly grateful to the wooden sword. If it hadn't brought him here, then he might have really missed the treasure inside. Cough, cough, thank you. Jiang Chen cleared his throat and walked inside. The wooden sword also obediently returned to Jiang Chen's back. In this seemingly messy secret room, Jiang Chen seemed to see 6 residual shadows sitting opposite each other. From their eyes it could be seen that they seemed to be discussing something important. However, it didn't matter what it was. What mattered was that Jiang Chen saw piles of immortal methods. Good. He flipped through it. Jiang Chen sucked in a breath of cold air. These techniques were not much weaker than the seal of ice that he had cultivated. They were enough to be considered the top techniques in the immortal realm. Unfortunately, there were only 5 of them. Next to these spells was a brown spirit beast's inner core. Jiang Chen picked it up and studied it for a while. The inner core of an immortal king-level spiritual beast. Jiang Chen couldn't help but sigh. He didn't expect that there would be such good things in the palace. Jiang Chen put all these things into his storage ring and prepared to search again. He would take away all the good ones and leave those that were slightly inferior here. Are you a descendant of Xinzang? Just as Jiang Chen's search was in full swing, a voice suddenly sounded. What Xian Zong? Jiang Chen was a little surprised. He immediately turned around and saw the 6 shadows not far behind him. Not to mention spiritual bodies, they couldn't even be called a wisp of spiritual consciousness. It could only be said that their cultivation was too high when they were alive, so they left behind afterimages. Jiang Chen saw a familiar figure among them. It was Chou Tianji, who had just escaped. Looking at him, Jiang Chen was angry. However, Chou Tianji's afterimage didn't look at Jiang Chen at all. Sitting next to Chou Tianji was a brawny man with fiery red hair. He should be one of the ancestors of the flame-bathing Phoenix clan. Could it be the ancestor whose body was stolen? Jiang Chen muttered to himself. However, he didn't say anything. If it was true, he was afraid that the old man would really explode. He had dominated the immortal realm for hundreds of thousands of years. After he died, his body buried in the mountains was actually stolen. No one would be able to accept this. Xinzang has been missing for tens of thousands of years. It may be that the Suzaku wooden sword has found a new owner. The 6 afterimages kept talking, as if they hadn't seen Jiang Chen at all. Seniors, you continue the meeting here. I still have some things to deal with, so I will leave first. Jiang Chen sensed a bad premonition. Based on his experience of 10 reincarnations, it was definitely a great opportunity for him to stumble into this place. If it was before, Jiang Chen would definitely be in high spirits. Even if he had to wait here for hundreds of years, he would get the opportunity to improve his strength. But now he has the mission of the rise of 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect and Tianji Zone. He even had to help Wang Min restore the honor of Han Bingwang. He really didn't have the energy to care about other things. Go! Just as Jiang Chen was about to step out, one of the afterimages suddenly stretched out his hand. Immediately an invisible force broke out and directly pushed Jiang Chen out. Jiang Chen didn't even have the chance to resist. His speed was so fast that it almost broke the space. He directly penetrated the enchantment outside the hall, flew to the center of the valley, and finally slammed into the river that fell from the sky. Plop! Jiang Chen fell into it, splashing water. Some people noticed the afterimage flashing, but no one would think that it was Jiang Chen. After all, in the valley, there were many spirit beasts that could fly. Is this kid the one who was chosen? After Jiang Chen was ejected, the person who had just made a move spoke. Maybe. Xuanzang is the #1 general under that lord. Even his weapon was chosen, most likely it was that lord's arrangement. The afterimage we left behind has finally completed its mission. We didn't let down that lord who helped us stabilize the immortal realm. This person's cultivation is too weak. I'm afraid he hasn't even explored 1/10 of the immortal realm. It'll be difficult for him to complete that lord's mission. Farewell, everyone. We may never have the chance to see each other again. The voices of the 6 people grew softer and softer, and even their afterimages gradually dissipated until they were completely gone. At the same time, the door to the secret chamber was tightly shut. In the hundreds of thousands of years since the valley's existence, Jiang Chen was the first person to enter. Of course, he was also the last. Of course, Jiang Chen didn't know what was going on inside. He'd already brought the wooden sword to the river. Jiang Chen lay in the water, allowing the river to wash over his body. The impurities in his body were washed out bit by bit, and even his foundation became more solid. Huff. In this state, Jiang Chen lost consciousness and fell into a deep slumber. One day, 2 days, several days passed in a row. Bai Xiaoyun filled her storage ring to the brim. If it weren't for the limited space, she would have taken the entire hall with her. I forgot that junior brother is the disciple of an ancient immortal king. Bai Xiaoyun stroked her storage ring and walked outside. She planned to go back and ask Jiangchen if she could learn some top-grade boundary techniques from Guhua. If she encountered a similar situation in the future, she could move everything into the formation and teleport it back to the divination pavilion. Bai Xiaoyun believed that with Guhua's level of attainment, she'd definitely know how to use such a technique. Chapter 1952. Little junior brother, there are less than 2 days left before the Sky Mountain Valley closes. Let's get out quickly. Otherwise, if we're trapped here, it'll be 10,000 years before we can get out. Standing in the main hall, Bai Xiaoyun sensed that no one had entered and shouted loudly. However, as soon as he shouted, he felt that something was amiss. That was, the fluctuation of immortal power from Jiangchen, and the wooden sword had never appeared in his perception. Bai Xiaoyun was a little worried. However, he also felt that with Jiangchen's strength, he should be invincible in the Sky Mountain Valley. Other than the 3 immortal kings, everyone else would be restricted. Could it be that he's already left the main hall? Bai Xiaoyun couldn't help but feel suspicious and quickly left the main hall. However, even when he returned to the entrance, he still couldn't sense Jiangchen's aura. In a hurry, he found Long Dade. As soon as he saw Bai Xiaoyun, Long Dade raised the spear in his hand and said, "White Immortal King, I got a spear. Although it's not as good as the sky-breaking spear, it's still a sacred item from the ancient Fanshu clan. Let's not talk about this first." Bai Xiaoyun glanced and asked, "Brother Dade, have you seen Jiangchen?" "No." Long Dade nodded. Long Dade nodded blankly. "I just came out. Wasn't he with you the whole time?" "We entered the Ice Lion clan's territory. After a few days, I couldn't find Jiangchen. The Sky Mountain Valley will close in 2 days. Also, I'm worried that he might be in danger." Bai Xiaoyun frowned slightly and said, "I don't think so. Jiangchen is so strong and has 2 great spiritual beast clans protecting him. Who would dare to do anything to him?" Long Dade wasn't as nervous as Bai Xiaoyun. He and Jiangchen had known each other for too long. "You're right. But what if he entered some place and missed the time and couldn't get out?" Bai Xiaoyun also felt that Long Dade's words were too timely. Hui Xian and Ao Zhan weren't the only ones. If they were in danger, their master would rush over immediately. The barrier here wouldn't pose any obstruction to people of the 3 immortal kings' level of cultivation. It could be seen from how Jiangchen could easily call Guhua over. Then it seems like there's no other way. Long Dade didn't know what to say. It seemed that Jiangchen had done this kind of thing quite often. "There are still 2 days. Let's wait a little longer." Bai Xiaoyun took a deep breath and sat cross-legged on the ground. Another day passed quietly. Almost all the cultivators in the valley had left. There were only 20 to 30 people left, and they had no intention of leaving. They were all itinerant cultivators in the southern region and did not have many cultivation resources to begin with. Rather than going out, it was better to be trapped here for 10,000 years. Not only could he cultivate in peace, but he could also find some treasures during this period of time. Then, after 10,000 years, he could easily establish himself in the immortal world. Outside the barrier, Hui Xian and Ao Zhan rushed over almost at the same time. They wanted to see Jiangchen come out with their own eyes. They wanted to see if the kid would bring any treasures out of the valley. Although they knew the possibility was very small, they also understood that Jiangchen could not be judged with common sense sometimes. The kid's luck was many times better than the others. In the river, Jiangchen slowly opened his eyes. He didn't know how long he had been trapped here, but when he woke up, he was holding a ring in his hand. There was a small crystal on the ring that was flickering with the unique light of the power of space. "Do you know where I am?" Jiangchen separated the river with immortal force and sat cross-legged. The wooden sword didn't react. "Phew, maybe those old men took revenge on me." Jiangchen exhaled deeply. When he recalled that he had indeed disrespected those shadows, he roughly understood what was going on. However, when Jiang Qun was about to come out, the ring suddenly emitted a strange fluctuation. Then, the entire valley began to vibrate violently. The spirit beasts inside weren't affected, but the cultivators who wanted to stay inside were forcefully expelled by a sudden repulsive force. Even Jiang Chen and Long Dade, who were waiting inside, were sent outside. "What's going on?" Hu Xian frowned and hurriedly asked when he saw Bai Xiaoyan come out. "Clan leader Hu Xian, the valley suddenly expelled us all." Bai Xiaoyan stood up and hurriedly looked inside. Although her cultivation had recovered, she still couldn't take a step forward. "Where's Jiang Chen?" Hu Xian glanced around and continued to ask. "Jiang Chen is very likely still inside." Bai Xiaoyan looked anxious. Ao Zhan asked in a low voice, "Didn't I tell you to protect Jiang Chen? Why did you come out when he was left inside?" "Clan leader, we don't know what's going on either." Ao Ting felt very wronged. He had been waiting at the entrance of the barrier on the third day, waiting to see Jiang Chen and come out together. Who would have thought that this would be the result? "Ao Hung, come with me to take a look." Ao Zhan turned his head and shouted. He unleashed the strength of a peak 5th level Immortal King and prepared to barge in. "Yes, clan leader." Ao Hung was also prepared to go in. "White Immortal King, you guard outside." "I'll go in with clan leader Ao Zhan." Hu Xian was also prepared to rush in. He was worried that Jiang Chen would really be in danger inside. After all, the entire barrier of the valley was too big. Even he didn't fully understand the situation inside. "Okay!" Ao Zhan shouted. The two of them took a step forward at the same time, preparing to enter with their powerful cultivation. At this moment, Jiang Chen flashed in front of them. The barrier suddenly disappeared. "Are the two clan leaders going to attack me?" Seeing the two people in front of him who were ready to attack, Jiang Chen was so scared that he took a step back and asked in a trembling voice. "What a joke! They were 7th level Immortal Kings and 6th level Immortal Kings. If they really wanted to kill him, Bai Xianling might not even be able to make it in time." "You came out?" Hu Xian and Ao Zhan immediately stopped. It's not the end of the 10 days. I didn't come out late." Jiang Chen shrugged and said. "You don't know. Just now, a strong repulsive force suddenly erupted in the valley and repelled all of us. Clan leader Hu Xian and clan leader Ao Zhan were worried that you would be in danger inside, so they were about to go in and rescue you." Bai Xiaoyan was relieved to see Jiang Chen. She hurried to explain. "I also noticed it, but I was quite far away and just came out." Jiang Chen pretended to be relaxed and said, "Fortunately, I came out in time. Otherwise, I don't know what the consequences would be. You can't do such a risky thing in the future." Seeing that Jiang Chen was fine, Hu Xian withdrew his immortal force. Chapter 1953. Jiang Chen nodded. He touched the ring on his finger discreetly. The entire mountain valley had entered the ring and became his personal space. However, he was not going to tell anyone about this. The place built by the 6 patriarchs of the Spirit Beast clans had fallen into his hands. If he told them, no one would be able to accept it. The mountain valley has never been so strange. Could it be that it has dissipated? After confirming that Jiang Chen was fine, Hu Xian looked forward again. He could no longer sense the existence of the mountain valley's barrier. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. "Well, let's go back quickly." Jiang Chen looked embarrassed. He was afraid that they would see through him if he continued to stay here. Even Ao Zhan followed him back to the Flame Phoenix clan. In the main hall, many clansmen looked inside. They wanted to see what the 2 patriarchs of the Spirit Beast clans were discussing. "Young master, did you get anything from the mountain valley?" Ao Zhan asked expectantly. Hearing the patriarch's words, even Ao Hing turned his head. As the most talented disciple of the ancient Void Dragon clan, he had entered the mountain valley more than 10 times. However, he had only found some common herbs in the mountain range. As for the secret treasures, he had never even seen them, let alone obtained them. In the end, he did not go in and gave the opportunity to the other members of the clan. I got it. Looking at their passionate looks, Jiang Chen had wanted to keep it a secret from them. However, after thinking about it, the two of them might know something about the situation inside the barrier. So, he told them the truth. Oh? What? Both Hu Xian and Ao Zhan became excited. This wooden sword. Jiang Chen took the vermilion bird talisman sword from his back and said, maybe it was because there were too many people here, but the wooden talisman sword stayed in Jiang Chen's hand obediently this time. Even the immortal power on the sword was firmly locked, and it didn't leak out at all. Pfft. After seeing this, Ao Heng could not help but sneer. What are you doing? Ao Zhan was also a little surprised, but after hearing Ao Heng's mocking laughter, he frowned and scolded in a low voice. That? Ao Heng also realized where the problem was. He hurriedly stretched out his hand to pinch his throat and coughed forcefully a few times. He said, Clan leader, I suddenly felt that my throat was very uncomfortable. I just cleared my throat. Is there only this wooden sword? Hu Xian examined the item in Jiang Chen's hand. After a while, he said with a frown, That's all. Jiang Chen nodded and put the wooden sword on his back again. There was no need for him to reveal the ordinary things that he had plundered. As for the valley of the mountain, if he were to reveal it, the entire southern region would change. Perhaps this wooden sword has its own uniqueness. Although Ao Zhan didn't understand, he could feel that the wooden sword was somewhat different from other weapons. However, when he thought about it carefully, he couldn't remember anything about it. Oh, that's right. Clan chiefs, have you heard about the Vermilion Bird clan? Thinking of the sword technique in his mind, Jiang Chen asked. According to the sword technique, if one wanted to completely master it, they had to have the special mark of the Vermilion Bird clan in their body. Otherwise, no matter how proficient they were in sword cultivation, even if they cultivated to the peak, they would not be able to unleash 100% of the sword technique's power. The Vermilion Bird clan? Hu Xian and Gu Hu exchanged a glance. That's right, Jiang Chen said with a nod. This clan seems to have completely disappeared from the immortal realm hundreds of thousands of years ago. They had even declined 1,000,000 years ago. If you hadn't mentioned it now, I would have almost forgotten about them. Hu Xian leaned back in his chair. He remembered that when he was young, the Blazing Phoenix clan still had some connections with the declining Vermilion Bird clan. However, in his impression, the Vermilion Bird clan was already in decline. Why are you asking about this clan? Gu Hu was also a little surprised. To be honest, clan leaders, my wooden talisman sword seems to be something left behind by the Vermilion Bird clan. Therefore, I want to inquire about the whereabouts of the Vermilion Bird clan, and see if I can obtain some sword techniques. Jiang Chen told them bluntly. It's a wooden talisman sword of the Vermilion Bird clan. My eyes are really bad. Hu Xian looked at the wooden sword on Jiang Chen's back and was momentarily stunned. Why would a wooden talisman sword of the Vermilion Bird clan appear in the mountain valley jointly built by the 6 great spirit beast ancestors? Gu Hu was also a little shocked. Maybe one of the ancestors had a good relationship with the Vermilion Bird clan back then. Jiang Chen scratched his head and said casually. He didn't know what was going on either. The sword was stuck in the ground and Jiang Chen didn't sense the existence of the Vermilion Bird clan. That's possible. However, the Vermilion Bird clan has disappeared for hundreds of thousands of years. Even if there are sword techniques that have been passed down, I don't know where they are in the immortal world. If you want to find it, I'm afraid it won't be that easy. Hu Xian took a deep breath and said, Okay. Jiang Chen nodded. Ao Heng, all of you can leave first. Ao Zhan was just about to speak when he looked at his clansmen sitting in front of him, and waved his hand at them. However, young master, if you really want to find the sword techniques of the Vermilion Bird clan, you can go to the wild forest to take a look. It's said that it's the last place the Vermilion Bird clan stayed before they disappeared. After Ao Heng and the others left, Ao Zhan spoke up. I mean, it's better not to go. When he heard that, Hu Xian shook his head and refused. If you want to cultivate sword techniques, our Phoenix clan has a few top-notch books. If you really can't do it, you can ask Xian Jun for a few books. He owes me, so he should help you. I'm not interested in Xian Jun's sword techniques. Jiang Chen also shook his head and said, Xian Jun had even learned the mental cultivation method of the mastery of Myriad Sword. Other sword techniques could not catch Jiang Chen's attention at all. Moreover, the talisman wood sword had its own immortal power and might even have its own consciousness. Jiang Chen wanted to fully comprehend the sword technique. Clan leader Hu Xian is right. The wild forest is one of the places closest to the unknown territory. It's unfathomable, and there are many ferocious beasts and hungry beasts living there. Even we don't dare to casually go in. It's not that easy for you to find the whereabouts of the Vermilion Bird clan in there. Ao Zhan realized that he had said something wrong and quickly corrected himself. It's fine. I'm just going to take a look. I'm not going there to train. Jiang Chen was very interested in the forest. It was not only because of the Vermilion Bird clan, but also because it was close to the unknown territory. Chapter 1954. What did that mean? It meant that there might be some information about his mother. Even though Jiang Chen knew that the possibility was very small, he still wanted to go and take a look. If you really want to go, I'll go with you. Seeing that Jiang Chen was so determined, Hu Xian compromised. According to the rumors, some of the ferocious beasts might be related to unknown areas. I'm worried if you go alone. No. I'll go alone this time. No one needs to follow me. Jiang Chen shook his head resolutely. This was related to his mother, and he was going to look for the mark of the Vermilion Bird tribe. If he really brought Hu Xian along, wouldn't he be exposed? What about me? Bai Xiaoyun pointed at her nose and asked. Eldest senior brother, you should go back to the immortal sect and wait for me. I'll go in and take a look, Jiang Chen said in a deep voice. Young master, this is not a joke. In the entire immortal world, there are many immortal lords and even immortal kings who have barged into the wild forest. None of them have returned alive. Ao Zhan was anxious. He regretted telling them about the situation in the wild forest. Once something happened to Jiang Chen, the 10,000 Mounts immortal sect would definitely collapse. Then, everyone would come to settle the score with him. Even Hu Xian might completely break ties with the ancient dragon tribe. As for Long Dade, he wouldn't help his family anymore. It's decided then. I'll rest for 2 days. The day after tomorrow, I'll leave for the wild forest. Jiang Chen didn't pay any attention to their dissuasion. After speaking, he walked out of the room directly. Looking at Jiang Chen's back, Ao Zhan was stunned. White Immortal King, Jiang Chen refused to listen to our advice. You have a good relationship with him. Go and persuade him. If he insists on going, we have to follow and protect him. Hu Xian looked at Bai Xiaoyun and said. It's useless, Hu Xian clan leader. Bai Xiaoyun smiled and said helplessly. Once my junior brother has decided on something, no one can change his mind, not even master. Then what should we do? Ao Zhan clapped his hands together and sighed. There's definitely danger, but it shouldn't be life-threatening. Bai Xiaoyun wasn't as worried as them. With Bai Xianling and Gu was secretly protecting Jiang Chen, even if he really encountered those murderers, they would definitely be able to protect him and leave. The 3 great immortal kings were not just for show. However, while Bai Xiaoyun knew about this, Hu Xian and Ao Zhan did not. They knew that they couldn't follow Jiang Chen in, so they were all racking their brains to think of a way to protect Jiang Chen. 2 days passed. After resting, Jiang Chen felt especially relaxed. In the past 2 days he had also comprehended the swordsmanship in his mind. With the mastery of myriad swords, it was relatively easy for Jiang Chen to grasp all the swordsmanship in the immortal world. However, when Jiang Chen was comprehending this book, he always felt that something was missing. No matter how he thought about it, he could only attribute it to the fact that he didn't possess the mark of the Vermilion Bird tribe. Jiang Chen, wait! Hu Xian quickly caught up with Jiang Chen just as he was about to walk out of the boundary of fire. Ao Zhan was also behind him with a hurried expression. Patriarchs, I didn't say that I would go by myself. You don't have to say anything. Jiangchen smiled helplessly. We're not here to stop you. Do you still have the crystal I gave you before? Huixian stared at Jiangchen and asked. Jiangchen flipped his hand over and the red crystal appeared in his palm. When he'd faced the black-robed man in the forest and fought with the sect master of the black sect in the eastern region, Jiangchen had almost crushed it. Here it is. Jiangchen handed it to Huixian. It's good that it's here. Although you don't want us to follow you, it's really too dangerous in the wild forest. If you can't escape, you must crush the crystal. That way, I can rush over immediately. Huixian heaved a sigh of relief and said in a deep voice. To be honest, Patriarch Huixian, I think so too. Jiangchen smiled and kept the crystal. Young master, this is the crystal of our ancient Void Dragon clan. If you encounter any danger, you must. Ao Zhan also took out a gray crystal and handed it to Jiangchen. Crush it too, right? Jiangchen asked, taking it back as well. That's right. I will be on standby in the clan. That way, no matter what ferocious beasts or dangers you encounter, Patriarch Huixian and I will definitely be able to bring you back safely. All right, I'll remember. Jiangchen nodded. He was extremely touched that Huixian and Ao Zhan valued him so much. However, when he looked around, there were only two patriarchs standing in front of him. Bai Xiaoyun and Long Dade were nowhere to be seen. For the past 2 days, Jiangchen had been in seclusion and had no time to deal with them. Patriarch Huixian, have my big senior brother and Long Dade returned? Jiangchen raised his eyebrows and asked. If they had not returned to the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, they should have come out to relax. Ah. The two of them had a hangover with their clansmen yesterday. They should be sleeping soundly now, Huixian said with some embarrassment. These two are unreliable. Jiangchen thought to himself. Young master, you must pay attention to your safety. Ao Zhan reminded him again. See you later. Jiangchen waved at them and quickly stepped out of the barrier. Not long after Jiangchen stepped out, a long spear swept out from somewhere in the tribe and directly pierced through the barrier, following closely behind Jiangchen. As it moved, the rust on it gradually fell off, revealing a golden light. What is this? Huixian looked at the long spear in the air. This is the sky-splitting spear of the sky-devouring Golden Dragon clan. After seeing this, Ao Zhan fell into deep thought. Strange, why does the young master have the ability to control the sky-splitting spear? He can even make his body appear. Maybe he encountered some opportunities. Huixian did not care. He had seen too many unusual things about Jiangchen. Take this time for example. For hundreds of thousands of years, almost no one had brought out any treasures from the mountain valley. However, Jiangchen had gone in once and obtained the Vermilion Bird clan's talisman wooden sword. Before seeing it, he had never heard of it. After leaving the flame barrier, Jiangchen flew straight in the direction of the wild forest. According to Ao Zhan, this forest should be at the end of the southern region, close to the unknown area. Jiangchen did not know how far away it was. He just kept urging the immortal power in his body and even used the 1000-change heavenly lamp. As his figure flashed, only the remaining immortal power fluctuations were left. As for his body, it had long disappeared. After Jiangchen left, Ao Zhan returned to the ancient Void Dragon clan. As for Huixian, he went into seclusion in one of his family's secret rooms. He wanted to wait here wholeheartedly. In this way, he would be able to detect Jiangchen as soon as he crushed the crystal, and he wouldn't be distracted by other matters. Chapter 1955. Even with Jiangchen's speed, after nearly half a month, he still did not see the border of the southern region, nor did he sense any fluctuations in the unknown domain. However, what could be seen with the naked eye below was that the lush vegetation had long disappeared and was replaced by an endless desolation. Within a radius of 100 miles, he could only sense less than 10 cultivators. Sensing that his immortal power had been consumed because of the journey, Jiangchen stopped when he saw a village. At the entrance of the village, There was a very simple-looking tavern. Jiangchen pushed the door open and entered. In the tavern, there were only a few people sitting inside. Their cultivation was only around the true immortal realm. When they saw a stranger enter, they all looked over together. "Is this the tavern?" Seeing that they were all staring at him, Jiangchen asked with a smile. "Of course it's the tavern." One of the waiters, who was wearing linen clothes, quickly walked over and wiped the table in front of Jiangchen. "Sir, please take a seat. We have wine brewed from the fruits of the nearby mountains and low-level spirit beast meat that we raised ourselves. Take a look and see what you want. Just a little bit will do." Jiangchen sat down and took a few breaths before saying, "Wait a moment, I'll go prepare it right away." The waiter walked inside eagerly. When opening a tavern, he could tell at a glance who had money and who didn't. When he saw Jiangchen, he knew that he was definitely a rich man. As long as he served him well, he might be able to give him thousands of immortal jade if he was happy. After waiting for a while, Jiangchen saw the waiter coming over with a basin full of meat. Not only Jiangchen, but also the other people in the tavern looked at it. They looked at the mountain of meat in front of Jiangchen, and then looked at the pitiful few slices on the plates in front of them. They immediately sighed with emotion. "Sir, I can sense that the immortal power in your body is a little weak. This low-level spirit beast meat can restore immortal power. Try it." The waiter looked at Jiangchen and said, "Where's the wine?" Jiangchen didn't say anything. Although there was a lot of meat in this basin, it didn't cost much. "Bring it over immediately." Seeing that Jiangchen did not refuse, the waiter hurriedly brought the wine pot over. This time, he didn't try to take advantage of the situation. He knew that once was enough. If he tried again, the guest in front of him might not be satisfied. Jiangchen took a sip, picked up a few pieces of meat and stuffed them into the innermost part of the bowl. Seeing how bold Jiangchen was, the few cultivators could not help but swallow their saliva. Spirit beast meat. They could only eat 3 to 4 slices of meat per meal. "If you guys want to eat, come and eat together." Seeing their eyes, Jiangchen waved at them. It was his first time here, so Jiangchen knew nothing about the situation here. He didn't know the specific location of the wild forest, so he was hoping to get some information from them. "Really?" Several people hurried to Jiangchen's side. "Waiter, 2 more basins." Jiangchen waved at the waiter. "Little brother, you're so generous." "Yeah, you're the kindest person I've ever met." They hurried to salute Jiangchen with their hands folded in front of their chests to express their gratitude when they heard there would be endless spiritual beast meat. They had never eaten meat so heartily before. The 3 basins of spirit beast meat were cleaned out in just a few minutes. These cultivators sat on the chairs contentedly and rubbed their bellies. Their eyes were full of gratitude to Jiangchen, and they even had the impulse to sacrifice their lives for Jiangchen. "Brother, are you also going to Mercenary Town?" After eating and drinking to their heart's content, they looked at Jiangchen and asked, "Mercenary Town? Where is this place?" Jiangchen raised his eyebrows. "So it's not. Mercenary Town is about 10,000 miles away from here. It's a town near the wild forest. There are dozens of mercenary groups of various sizes there," one of them explained. "Oh? Isn't the wild forest extremely dangerous? Why would there be mercenary groups there?" Jiangchen was curious. "It's precisely because it's dangerous that these mercenary groups are born. They receive missions from all over the immortal realm. Some go to the wild forest to pick herbs, others hunt spirit beasts for inner cores. The greater the risk, the more immortal jade they receive. I've heard that in the largest mercenary groups, each mercenary group can receive at least 100,000 immortal jade for a single mission." As they spoke, Jiangchen saw the passion in their eyes. "You're all going to a mercenary group?" Jiangchen's interest was piqued. However, news of the Vermilion Bird clan and his mother had to be kept secret. Otherwise, Jiangchen would have gone to the mercenary groups there for help. "That's right. Rogue cultivators like us who don't belong to any clan, sect, or cultivation might as well try our luck in Mercenary Town. If we can get immortal jades, we can even find treasures in the wild forest. Why not?" "That's right. By the way, brother, if you're not going to Mercenary Town, why are you passing by here? As far as we know, there aren't any sects or families around here. As they spoke, their gazes converged on Jiangchen again. I was just wandering around because I had nothing to do. However, I heard that Mercenary Town is very interesting, so I'll go with you. Jiangchen smiled and said casually, Okay. Let's go together. The few of them burst into laughter. They knew that with Jiangchen as their companion, they would not have to worry about food and drink before they reached Mercenary Town. Waiter, how much is it? Jiangchen waved to the person behind him. Sir, it's a total of 6,000 immortal jade. The waiter hurried over. 10,000, keep the change. Jiangchen rummaged through the storage rings. The smallest promissory note was 10,000. Thank you, sir, thank you. The waiter held the promissory note and bowed to Jiangchen repeatedly. After leaving the tavern, Jiangchen followed them to Mercenary Town. It was better to have a companion than to go alone. Moreover, he did not know much about Mercenary Town. If he could learn about the situation in the wild forest from these mercenaries, he would have a better chance of finding the whereabouts of the Vermilion Bird tribe. While following them, Jiangchen also took the opportunity to familiarize himself with the sword technique. Mercenary Town. This place could be said to be the edge of the entire southern region. Of course, this was only a rumor. After all, if they continued forward, they would reach the wild forest. No one knew how deep or long the forest was. No one had ever measured it, and no one had ever reached the deepest part of the forest. It was only said that this was the southernmost end of the immortal realm. However, there were all kinds of people in Mercenary Town. Some people had brought news that the other side of the wild forest was another continent of the immortal realm. No one knew what it was like. As they approached the wild forest, the number of cultivators gradually increased. Some came from outside like Jiangchen, while others left from inside the town. This is Mercenary Town. One of them pointed at the huge town in front of them and said to Jiangchen. Chapter 1956. After traveling together for so long, I still don't know your names. Jiangchen looked up at the several towns in front of him and asked. Although it was called a town, it was actually bigger than 2 towns combined. Moreover, he could sense thousands of auras inside, from immortal kings to immortals. There's nothing to mention about our previous names. The few of us happened to meet together, so we became sworn brothers and gave ourselves a new name. You can call me Old One. The person who spoke earlier said. You guys won't be assigned from Old One to Old 7, right? Looking at the other 6 people around him, Jiangchen said with the corners of his mouth twitching. That's right, that's our current name. But brother, don't think that you're rich and have a higher cultivation than us. If you want to join us, you can only be Old 8. Old One said to Jiangchen with an embarrassed expression. The name Old 8 is a bit unpleasant. Jiangchen shook his head and continued. I won't join you guys. I'm just here to take a look. Who knows when I'll leave? Seeing that Jiangchen wasn't interested, these people didn't insist. Jiangchen furrowed his brows when he walked into the town. It was so noisy that he couldn't help but hear it. With an immortal realm expert like Jiangchen, Old One and the others originally just wanted to find an ordinary mercenary group. But now, they had some ideas about the strongest beast slayer mercenary group. They knew that being a celestial immortal realm expert was already considered very strong as a mercenary here. Immortal realm experts were the peak existences in each mercenary group. As for those above immortal realm, this kind of expert would be valued no matter which sect or family they went to. They would have countless cultivation resources and immortal jades to use. There was no need for them to come here and take risks as mercenaries. Following them, Jiangchen came to a corner of the town. There was a huge manor here, and there were 2 true immortal realm cultivators guarding the door. It looked like an ordinary family, and it was difficult for them to integrate with a mercenary group. You guys, what are you here for? The guard looked at Jiangchen and the others. Seeing that they were not dressed well and their cultivation levels were not high, he knew that they were not here to deliver the mission. We wish to join the Beast Slayer mercenary group and become one of you. Old One walked in front of Jiangchen and said to them, Just you? Looking at the people before him who were only at the true immortal realm, the guard laughed out. You are a true immortal. We are also true immortals. If you can enter, why can't we? This laughter angered Old One. If it weren't for the fact that he had offended the Beast Slayer mercenary group, he would have definitely taken action. I'm not looking down on you. It's just that with our cultivation, we can only guard the door. We don't have the qualifications to enter the desolate forest. You should go back. There are enough people guarding the door. The guard waved his hand and said, Brother. After being rejected, Old One hurriedly signaled Jiangchen with his eyes. Jiangchen understood what he meant. He walked up to the guard with his hands behind his back. If they're not qualified, then am I qualified? What are you? The guard was a little impatient. However, when he sensed that Jiangchen was a level 5 Immortal Realm expert, a smile appeared on his face. With such strength, not to mention ordinary mercenaries, he was qualified to be the vice leader of their mercenary group. Why aren't you letting us in? If you continue to dawdle, we'll join another mercenary group. Old One hurriedly said when he saw how surprised the guard was. Please come in. I'll inform the leader now. The guard didn't dare to stop them anymore. If these people really joined another mercenary group, the leader would definitely punish them severely once he knew about it. Old One and the rest followed him in proudly. They had completely forgotten that they were being treated like this because of Jiangchen. After entering the manor, Jiangchen sat in the living room. Jiangchen saw a huge beast skin at the head of the table. That's a ferocious beast with the cultivation of an immortal monarch. After our leader killed it, he skinned it and used it as a cushion. He's the first in the entire mercenary town. The guard said proudly when he saw Jiangchen looking over there. It was also because of this beast skin that those who came here acknowledged the strength of the Beast Slayer mercenary group and gradually became the largest mercenary group in the entire mercenary town. Oh? Jiangchen was a little surprised and asked, Is your leader an immortal monarch? Immortal sovereign. The guard replied. Jiangchen laughed. If an immortal sovereign could kill a ferocious beast with the cultivation of an immortal monarch, why would he be a mercenary with such strength? He was afraid that any sect in the immortal world would treat him well. Even Xian Jun's Jade Sword sect could easily enter. Jiangchen guessed that most likely, he was lucky to have encountered a severely injured immortal monarch ferocious beast. That was why he was able to kill it. Please wait for a moment. Our leader personally led a team to the desolate forest to hunt ferocious beasts. He will probably return in a few hours. The guard looked at the sky outside and said to Jiangchen, Then why don't you treat us well? We came here from afar. Old One put his hands behind his back and looked disdainfully at everything. After hearing his words, Jiangchen frowned slightly. This kind of fox assuming the tiger's power made him very unhappy. But after all, they were just strangers, so he didn't say anything. No problem, I'll go prepare it for you. The guard hurriedly left. After a while, the spirit beast meat, good wine, and good dishes were all served. Old One and the others didn't care about Jiangchen at all and directly ate in big mouthfuls. However, the one called Old Seven wasn't bad. As he ate, he said to Jiangchen, Brother, it's all thanks to you that we can receive such treatment. Meeting you is the best thing that has happened to us. Yes, yes, Old One said vaguely as he stuffed the meat in the innermost part of his body. Jiangchen didn't care about them. Instead, he sat on the chair and closed his eyes to rest. At the same time, he spread out his perception to see if he could find any news about the Vermilion Bird clan in the desolate forest. After a few hours, the leader of the mercenary group finally returned. He walked in front of everyone. Although there were some injuries on his body and his aura was unstable, he was unusually spirited. As he walked into the manor, many people in the town stared at him. Behind him, a dozen mercenaries were pushing a wooden cart. On the wooden cart, there was the corpse of a ferocious beast and close to 20 cultivator corpses. A ferocious beast of the god immortal realm. I'm afraid a ferocious beast of this cultivation level can already evolve spiritual intelligence. Don't you understand? Ferocious beasts aren't the same as spirit beasts. Only when they step into the immortal venerable realm can they evolve their intelligence and become cultivators. However, the strength of this beast slayer mercenary group is really strong. I remember that the last god immortal realm ferocious beast was also killed by them. Along the way, envious voices could be heard from time to time. Chapter 1957. As the leader of the Beast Slayer mercenary group, Zhou Wu naturally enjoyed this kind of adoration. He knew that the more envious voices there were, the more famous his mercenary group would be in the surrounding dozens of towns. As a result, it would attract more powerful mercenaries and allow them to receive bigger missions. He could sell this divine immortal realm spirit beast for nearly 3 billion immortal jades. After deducting the daily expenses of the accompanying mercenaries and the maintenance group, he could get 2 billion immortal jades for himself. Not to mention the mercenary town, even in the immortal realm, not many families and sects were richer than him. Leader, there's a cultivator in the divine immortal realm who wants to join our mercenary group. Seeing that the leader had returned, the guard hurriedly ran out and reported respectfully. Oh? Divine immortal realm? Zhou Wu's eyes lit up. He had lost 2 LV1 divine immortal realm experts in the wild forest to hunt the divine immortal realm spirit beast. He didn't know how many people below the divine immortal realm were killed or injured. The wooden cart only brought back complete corpses. There were dozens of people who died in the forest. Although he had made a lot of money, he was anxious to recruit more powerful subordinates to replenish his strength. Otherwise, if there was another mission, he wouldn't have the chance to complete it even if he accepted it. If this happened again and again, his reputation would definitely decline, which was very unfavorable for the entire mercenary group. Therefore, when he heard that such an expert had arrived, he immediately ordered his subordinates to pull the wooden cart into the manor, while he walked quickly to the reception hall. However, as soon as he entered the door, he saw Old One and the others who were sweeping away the clouds and clouds. He was a little unhappy. However, when he thought that there were divine immortal realm experts among them, he could only endure it and said, "Which one of you is a cultivator in the divine immortal realm?" "I am." Jiangchen stood up and said, "Show me your cultivation. If it's above LV1 divine immortal realm, you can become a core member of the Beast Slayer mercenary group. If it's above LV3 divine immortal realm, you will have the opportunity to become our deputy leader." Zhou Wu glanced at Jiangchen. He seemed to be in disbelief. The person in front of him looked young, probably less than 30 years old. Moreover, he looked like a virgin. With his knowledge, this kind of person should be from a big family or a big sect. Okay. Jiangchen nodded and displayed his full cultivation. 5th tier of the divine celestial stage? Zhou Wu's eyes widened when he felt the cultivation fluctuation coming from Jiangchen. I wonder if I can join your Beast Slayer mercenary group with my cultivation? Jiangchen retracted his cultivation and asked indifferently. Of course, no problem at all. Little brother, from now on you will be a core member of our Beast Slayer mercenary group. As long as you follow me into the forest to hunt a few vicious beasts and make a name for yourself in the town, I will promote you to vice leader. This way, the other brothers will also be convinced by you. How is it? Zhou Wu agreed without hesitation. He was afraid that Jiangchen was just acting on a whim and would regret it later. All right, I agree. Jiangchen nodded and said, They are. Zhou Wu pointed at Old One and the others who were eating and asked, It's the person who came with him. The guard whispered. Later, bring them downstairs and arrange them in the 10th team. The guard sighed softly. He hated this kind of people the most. However, he couldn't stand Jiangchen's existence and had to accept them together. You guys stop eating. The leader has accepted all of you. First, follow me to register. When the time comes, you will be able to eat. The guard quickly went forward and pulled them. Really? Old One quickly put down the things in his hand. Really. Come with me quickly. Seeing the reception hall in such a state, the guard frowned. He was afraid that the leader would blame him later. Then, brother, let's meet again later. Old One and the others cupped their greasy hands and grinned at Jiangchen. As soon as they left, Zhou Wu immediately ordered his men to clean up the table thoroughly. The leftovers were all thrown outside. Little brother, I still don't know your name. Zhou Wu rubbed his hands excitedly and asked. Jiangchen. Jiangchen told him the truth. This was the border of the southern region, and he was from the northern region. There were millions of miles between them. Jiangchen was sure that the person in front of him had never heard of him. Jiangchen. Zhou Wu pondered for a while and nodded. It's a good name. In the future, if we cooperate well, no one in the entire mercenary town will be a match for us. To tell you the truth, I can get at least 5 billion celestial jades from the spirit beast of the divine celestial realm that I just caught. If you participate in the future, I will get 70% and you will get 30%. What do you think? Jiangchen smiled and said. No problem. Celestial jades are useless to me. Ha ha. Then, brother Jiangchen, I will arrange a place for you to stay. I have a business tomorrow. The other party needs the inner elixir of a fierce beast of the wood attribute, and it must be above the 5th level of the divine celestial realm. I was worried about it. With you around, there will be no problem. Zhou Wu slapped his thigh and laughed loudly. Leader Zhou, I have something to ask you. Jiangchen hesitated for a while and asked. He didn't have much time to waste here. The reason why he joined the Beast Slayer mercenary group was because he wanted to have another channel to get information about the desolate forest. Go ahead. Zhou Wu waved his hand. I don't know if Leader Zhou has heard of the Vermilion Bird Clan. I heard that this clan lived in the desolate forests before they disappeared. Jiangchen paused for a while and asked. Unexpectedly, Zhou Wu's expression changed the moment Jiangchen said this. He looked at Jiangchen cautiously and said, Why did Brother Jiangchen suddenly ask about this? Did you come to our Beast Slayer mercenary group with a purpose? Of course not. Leader Zhou must have misunderstood me. I have only heard some news about this clan. Now that I have joined the Beast Slayer mercenary group, if I were to obtain the treasures left behind by the Vermilion Bird Clan, wouldn't I make a fortune? Jiangchen quickly shook his head. So that's how it is. Zhou Wu didn't suspect anything. He just said with some fear, Brother Jiangchen, it's better if you don't say such things in the future. I have been here for nearly 10 years, and I have never seen anything related to the Vermilion Bird Clan. Moreover, the disappearance of this clan seems a little unusual. Unusual in what way? Jiangchen asked. This is not something a mere immortal venerable like me can know. Zhou Wu shook his head. Chapter 1958. Understood. Jiangchen nodded and said. Also, Brother Jiangchen, don't be curious about this matter in the future. Otherwise, you'll get yourself killed sooner or later. Zhou Wu reminded him worriedly. He was afraid that this expert who had just joined the mercenary group would be killed. I'll listen to Leader Zhou. I won't mention it in the future. Jiangchen agreed with a smile. However, he also understood that Zhou Wu definitely knew something about the Vermilion Bird Clan. He just might have some scruples and wouldn't tell him. The more Zhou Wu refused to say, the more Jiangchen thought that this information was important. He also wanted to find a way to get it out of Zhou Wu's mouth. Brother Jiangchen, go and rest first. We'll gather in the manor tomorrow morning. We'll go into the deep forest to hunt ferocious beasts. You can take this opportunity to show your strength to the others and establish your prestige. Only then did Zhou Wu feel relieved. He arranged for Jiangchen to stay in a small courtyard in the manor. There were even 2 guards at the entrance of the courtyard. The next morning, when Jiangchen walked out, there were already many mercenaries gathered in the manor. It was obvious that Zhou Wu had invested a lot this time. Other than Jiangchen, there was another divine immortal cultivator. The rest were lower level. Brother Jiangchen, how was your rest? Zhou Wu quickly asked when he saw Jiangchen walking out. Not bad. Jiangchen replied casually. Everyone, let me introduce you. This is Jiangchen. He just joined the Beast Slayer mercenary group yesterday. Don't be fooled by his young appearance. He's a level 5 divine immortal expert. When Jiangchen had walked up to the crowd, Zhou Wu pointed at him and shouted loudly to the crowd. You're right. Even the mercenaries outside the manor craned their necks to look over. They were all envious. They didn't understand why there were so many experts in the Beast Slayer mercenary group. In their mercenary group, there were only a few heavenly immortal experts, let alone divine immortal experts. Leader Zhou, let's go quickly. Jiangchen frowned slightly and said, All right, let's go. Zhou Wu waved his hand and took the lead to leave the manor. When Jiangchen turned around, the people behind him saw the wooden sword on his back. The group of people was stunned. A dignified 5th-level divine immortal expert was using a wooden sword as his weapon. One had to know that there were many forces that forged weapons in the mercenary town. Ordinary people bought spears and swords made of black iron or fine iron. Those who were slightly richer could add some crystal stones into the forging process to improve the quality of their weapons. As for those who could really take out millions or even tens of millions of immortal jades, they could own weapons made from the bones of spirit beasts. The more they gave, the higher the grade of the ferocious beast. Currently, a large saber in the town was made from the bones of an immortal realm ferocious beast. Its price was about 1 billion immortal jades. Could he be a swindler? It can't be. Our leader is an immortal venerable expert. How could he be deceived by him? Then why is he using a wooden sword? Could it be that he is so poor that he doesn't even have enough immortal jades to buy a weapon of similar quality? When Jiangchen followed Zhou Wu out of the manor, many people behind them began to discuss. Jiangchen heard their words clearly. He, who did not like wooden swords, suddenly felt the special charm of the vermilion bird talisman wooden sword. Such an ordinary wooden sword that was even looked down upon by others was used at this time. If he used the sky-breaking spear, it would be too eye-catching. After leaving the town, the group walked towards the desolate mountain range. The further they walked, the more they could feel the desolate mountain range's aura, especially the fluctuation of ferocious beasts. Brother Jiangchen, have you been to the desolate mountain range before? Zhou Wu and Jiangchen walked in front of everyone. He looked at the mercenary groups coming and going from the desolate mountain range and asked. First time. Jiangchen glanced at the people around him. Then you must follow me closely. Don't be fooled by your high cultivation. There are many hidden dangers in the desolate mountain range. A few years ago, there was an immortal monarch expert who trespassed into the desolate mountain range and died without leaving a corpse behind. Speaking of this, a confident smile appeared on Zhou Wu's face. He could be said to be the person who knew the desolate mountain range the best in the town. Not to mention immortal venerables, even immortal monarchs would have to ask him if they wanted to enter the desolate mountain range. With Leader Zhou around, I shouldn't be in danger, right? Jiangchen smiled and said casually. That's not necessarily true. The desolate mountain range is too dangerous. Moreover, we might not be able to find any immortal venerable beasts with wood attribute nearby. We might have to search the entire mountain range. In that case, we might encounter more unknown dangers. Zhou Wu put away the smile on his face and said in a deep voice. I believe in Leader Zhou's judgment. Jiangchen said casually again. He knew it was dangerous in the wild forest, but with his strength, even if he ran into fierce beasts at the immortal monarch level, he could escape easily. As for those at the immortal king level, at this level, it was basically impossible for them to exist in the desolate mountain range. Haha, brother Jiangchen, you really believe in me. Don't worry, brother. I will definitely protect you. You are now the only 2 immortal monarchs in our Beast Slayer mercenary group. Hearing Jiangchen's boasting, Zhou Wu was very pleased. He raised his hand and patted Jiangchen's arm and said in a deep voice. Okay, thank you, Leader Zhou. Jiangchen nodded and replied. The group walked into the desolate mountain range. There were many people who wanted to go in with them, and they all shamelessly came forward to strike up a conversation. They all knew that as long as they followed Zhou Wu and the others, It meant that they would receive the greatest protection. Even if they were to face some venerable beasts, they would be able to survive. As for the price, they would have to pay some immortal jades. For the sake of their lives, immortal jades were nothing, and Zhou Wu was very willing to lead them. Since they were going into the desolate mountain range anyway, it would be fun to have these people as companions. Moreover, when the time came to face the venerable beasts with high cultivation, they could be used as bait. He had done this many times before, but the people in the town never knew about it. The reason was simple. Those who were under his protection almost all died in the desolate mountain range. There was no chance for them to return alive. For a moment, dozens of people followed behind Zhou Wu. They looked at Jiang Chun with some surprise and wondered how Jiang Chun could reach the immortal realm at such a young age. However, they only thought about it and did not dare to ask. Chapter 1959. They arrived at the entrance of the forest. Jiang Chun could feel the aura of desolation coming from within. Brother Jiang Chun, this is your first time here and you might not be used to it. It's better for you to stay close to me, Zhou Wu whispered as soon as he took his first step into the forest. Okay, I'll remember that. Jiang Chun slowed down and followed behind him. After entering the desolate forest, Jiang Chun immediately spread out his perception. The group of people who joined at the last minute hid behind Zhou Wu. Since they had paid, they didn't have to worry about encountering low-level beasts. Ferocious beasts of the divine immortal realm usually lived in deeper regions. Be careful! Suddenly, Zhou Wu shouted in a low voice. As he spoke, a ferocious beast with the cultivation of a celestial immortal charged out. Jiang Chun didn't move. He knew that the strength of the people around him was enough to deal with it. However, he was a little surprised that the beast carried a faint aura of desolation. Could it be related to an unknown area? Jiang Chun frowned. When he arrived here, he also learned about the situation of the desolate forest. He didn't agree with the saying that the other side of the forest was the end of the immortal realm. In his previous life, he lived in the immortal realm. Although he had always lived in the 10,000 Mounts immortal sect and almost never left the northern region, he still had a certain understanding of the immortal realm. It was vast and boundless. This was the most basic impression of the immortal realm people had of the immortal realm. Therefore, it was more likely that the other side of the desolate forest was an unknown area. The wild aura that these ferocious beasts carried seemed to be the best explanation for all of this. Haha, divine immortal realm beasts! With the presence of an immortal venerable expert like Zhou Wu, they naturally weren't afraid. On the contrary, their eyes lit up with excitement. Divine immortal realm beasts could be sold for hundreds of millions of immortal jade. Every member of the Beast Slayer mercenary group could get close to 2 million immortal jade. This could be said to be the annual income of an ordinary mercenary in Mercenary Town. This was also the reason why every mercenary wanted to join the Beast Slayer mercenary group. As long as one's luck was good, they would have the opportunity to earn hundreds of millions of immortal jades in a year. This was an amount that other mercenary groups could only dream of. Just as Jiang Chun was thinking about whether the wild forest had anything to do with the unknown domain, Zhou Wu had already rushed forward. He held a very wide broadsword in his hand, and when he released his immortal energy, he had already arrived at the side of the beast. I've just entered and I've already encountered a murderer at the heavenly immortal stage. Looks like I'm going to make a killing this time. With a smile on his face, Zhou Wu raised the broadsword in his hand and slashed at the beast's abdomen. Naturally, the ferocious beasts were not to be trifled with. Although it was a little fat, it was still very agile. He dodged to the side and dodged Zhou Wu's fierce attack. He even seized the opportunity to extend his pitch-black claws and ruthlessly clawed at Zhou Wu's back. Don't just stand there, attack! Zhou Wu turned his sword and blocked the attack with his broadsword. He then turned his head and shouted at the crowd in a low voice. After hearing his command, dozens of people swarmed forward and surrounded the ferocious beasts in the blink of an eye. His strength is a little weak. The corner of Jiang Chen's mouth curled up into a smile as he muttered to himself. When the ferocious beasts attacked, he could sense the strength of this thing. Even a half-step immortal venerable could easily kill it. Moreover, Zhou Wu seemed to be having a hard time facing it. What did this mean? It meant that Zhou Wu wasn't a true immortal venerable expert. Perhaps he had some fortuitous encounter in the wild forest, or perhaps he had consumed some pills that could greatly increase his cultivation base. That was why his cultivation base was forcefully raised to the immortal venerable realm. Jiang Chun could tell from the strength he had shown that he was strong. His true cultivation base should be around the 3rd level of the immortal realm. Could it be that there are really treasures in this wild forest? Jiang Chun looked around. From the 3rd level of the immortal realm to the immortal venerable realm. This wasn't something that an ordinary pill could do. Given Zhou Wu's wealth, he shouldn't have the opportunity to buy it. It must be because of this wild forest. To be able to raise a cultivator's cultivation base to such a high level. It definitely wasn't something that an ordinary fortuitous encounter could do. Looking at the gloomy forest, Jiang Chun had a strong interest in this forest even though the chances of finding the Vermilion Bird clan was slim. While he was thinking, under the joint attack of Zhou Wu and dozens of members of the Beast Slayer mercenary group, the heavenly immortal ferocious beasts was ultimately outnumbered. After killing 3 members with a single slap, Zhou Wu's broadsword ruthlessly pierced its abdomen. Chi! Blood spurted out. Zhou Wu gritted his teeth and looked at the ferocious beasts in front of him with red eyes. The ferocious beasts let out a wail. When it wanted to struggle, the broadsword in its body exerted more force. In the end, the ferocious beasts couldn't bear such a heavy injury and fell to the ground. Pui! Zhou Wu spat out a mouthful of saliva and handed the broadsword to his men. You guys bring the corpse back. After taking a few breaths, Zhou Wu pointed to a dozen members on the left and ordered. The members quickly nodded. After moving the corpse of the ferocious beast to a wooden cart, they turned around and left the forest. Wiping the blood off his face, Zhou Wu walked to Jiang Chun. Brother Jiang Chun, you should have seen how terrifying this group of ferocious beasts is. Even I, an immortal prime expert, have such a hard time dealing with a heavenly immortal beast, let alone those with a higher cultivation base. As for the Vermilion Bird clan you mentioned, even if they exist, they must be in the deepest part of the forest. With our strength, it's impossible for us to enter. I'm afraid we'll be eaten by stronger ferocious beasts on the way. Captain Zhou, you're injured. Jiang Chun pointed to the wounds on his chest and arms and said, This little injury is nothing. Zhou Wu waved his hand indifferently and continued, You just came in, so you might not have seen such a scene. But you'll get used to it soon. If we encounter ferocious beasts again, you can't just stand aside. You have to help me. No problem, I'll do it. Jiang Chun nodded and said, All right, let's take a rest. We'll find a wood attribute immortal beast as soon as possible. As long as we can get it, I promise to give each of you 50 million immortal jades. Zhou Wu spat out another mouthful of blood and said in a low voice, No problem. Under the stimulation of the immortal jades, these mercenaries agreed excitedly even though they knew they might die in the forest. What did 50 million immortal jades mean? As long as the news spread, all the cultivators in the mercenary town would be envious. Under Zhou Wu's order, everyone sat down and rested for a while. Chapter 1960. After a while, everyone got up and continued to walk into the depths of the forest. It was not because they were in a hurry, but if they stayed here for too long, the blood chi floating in the air would attract other fierce beasts. This group of people had to go all out when facing a heavenly immortal fierce beast. If there were 7 or 8 of them, except for Jiang Chun, no one would be able to escape alive. They walked deeper into the forest. Jiang Chun could perceive clearly how many fierce beasts there were in the vicinity, as well as their cultivation levels. Brother Jiang Chun, have you recovered? Zhou Wu stretched out his arm that had just been bandaged and waved at Jiang Chun. I'm still a little shocked. I've never seen such a situation before. Jiang Chun pretended to be ignorant. Haha, you're not afraid after seeing so much. But don't leave our beast slayer mercenary group because of fear. You'll be discriminated against by all the mercenaries. Even if your cultivation is high, no one will welcome you." While comforting Jiang Qin, Zhou Wu did not forget to warn him. He was afraid that Jiang Qin would be scared out of his wits and have thoughts of leaving this place. "Captain Zhou, don't worry. I won't leave this place." Jiang Qin smiled and said, "That's good. With your cultivation, you'll definitely be able to make a name for yourself in this mercenary town. When the time comes, you can choose any woman here." Hearing Jiang Qin's honest words, Zhou Wu was relieved. "There are women here?" Jiang Qin asked doubtfully. He had lived here for 2 days. Other than the men in the town, he had never seen a woman. "Of course there are. It's just that you're new here and don't know. Brother, think about it. There are thousands of cultivators gathered here. Of course, they need to vent." Zhou Wu suddenly revealed a wretched smile and said, "In the town on the far left, there are women gathered there. Usually, after we finish our mission, I understand." Jiang Qin hurriedly agreed and interrupted him. "Don't worry, as long as this mission is completed, I will definitely go over there and pick 2 beautiful and clean women for you. Let those mercenaries be envious." Zhou Wu treated Jiang Qin as an inexperienced chick. Of course, he did not say anything that was too excessive. He was afraid that if Jiang Qin was unhappy, he would directly leave this place. "Thank you for your kind intentions, Regiment Commander Zhou." Jiang Qin felt a chill run down his spine, but he still thanked him. Zhou Wu felt relieved after confirming that Jiang Qin had no intention of flinching. With his strength, Jiang Qin, another subordinate in the divine immortal state, and more than 100 baits behind them, even if they ran into fierce beasts of the wood element at the 5th level of the divine immortal state, they would still be defeated. As long as he used his brain, it wouldn't be a problem. However, after walking for nearly half a day, other than encountering some low-level ferocious beasts, they didn't even see a single golden immortal. It was already night time. The originally gloomy savage forest became even darker. Everyone was moving in the dark. Since they did not have a strong soul power like Jiang Qin, their sensing ability was greatly limited. They could only sense the situation within a radius of a few hundred meters. This distance seemed to be very long, but in the savage forest where dangers lurked everywhere, it was really not enough. Moreover, if a powerful fierce beast discovered them, it would be able to charge over from a distance of a few hundred meters in an instant. They would have almost no chance to react. Therefore, when the sky was completely dark, the experienced Zhou Wu immediately asked everyone to sit down and rest. He also directly withdrew all his celestial strength into his body. In this way, even if a powerful fierce beast passed by, as long as they were not too unlucky, they would not be in danger. After entering the savage forest for hundreds of times, he had only been unlucky once. At that time, all the people he brought in were killed by that ferocious beast, and he, Zhou Wu, was lucky enough to escape. Because of his serious injuries, he had to recuperate for nearly 100 years. However, the mercenary group was originally an organization that licked blood on the tip of the blade. He did not care about a 1% chance. Even if it was a 50% chance, he would still dare to bring people in. In any case, with his strength, he would be able to get out alive. As for the subordinates he lost, he would wait until their injuries were healed before recruiting new ones. In the thousands of years since the establishment of the Beast Slayer mercenary group, they had changed their members no less than 10,000 times. The number of people buried in the savage forest was also in the tens of thousands. Those who died in the forest all became food for the fierce beasts in the end. "Brother, let's endure through the night and wait until tomorrow morning to act. Remember, you must not release your celestial strength. That will lead the fierce beasts here. Moreover, if you discover something, you must inform me immediately. You cannot panic." Zhou Wu sat beside Jiang Qin and reminded him in a low voice. "I understand, Captain Zhou." Jiang Qin leaned against a black tree trunk and closed his eyes to rest. After casually replying, he continued to think about the sword technique in his mind. "You are too enlightened. Seeing that Jiang Chun was so sensible, Zhou Wu was extremely excited. With such an obedient expert, it was simply a huge boost to the strength of the entire mercenary group. After the excitement, Zhou Wu gradually calmed down. The night passed quietly just like that. When the sky was about to brighten and the darkness in the savage forest was about to recede a little, everyone heaved a heavy sigh of relief in their hearts. They all knew that they had narrowly escaped with their lives again. Get ready to act. After a night of rest, Zhou Wu's injuries were more or less healed. He tore off the cloth on his arm and ordered in a deep voice. But just as his voice fell, he suddenly felt the presence of danger in his spreading perception. Everyone be alert! Martial God Zhou's expression immediately became vigilant. He took the broadsword from his subordinate's hand and stared intently into the forest. In the place where he was looking, he could vaguely feel the aura of a fierce beast, and gradually, he could also hear the roar of a fierce beast. A fierce beast at the first level of the divine immortal realm, and it seems to be of the fire attribute. Jiang Chun did not look like they were facing a great enemy. That's right. Brother Jiang Chen, it seems that we have to act together. As long as we can kill this thing, I will give you at least 300 million immortal jades. Zhou Wu was a little surprised. He did not expect Jiang Chen's perception to be so much stronger than his. Even after Jiang Chen finished speaking, he could roughly perceive the situation of the fierce beast. It was no different from what Jiang Chen had said. I have cultivated the perception ability before. Seeing the puzzled look in his eyes, Jiang Chen had to explain. Chapter 1961. No wonder. Realization dawned on Zhou Wu. He finally understood why Jiang Chen's perception was so much better than his, even though his cultivation base was much lower than his. After confirming the situation of the beast, Zhou Wu relaxed, but at the same time, his nerves tensed up. Relax. This was because the beast was only at the first level of the divine immortal realm. It was not a celestial venerable, or a celestial duke. Even if they could kill it, they would have to pay a price. They might even suffer heavy casualties. If that happened, they would not be able to continue staying in the forest. They would have to return to the mercenary town and look for another opportunity. However, if they were delayed for too long, the employer might be unhappy and turn to another mercenary group. At that time, they would lose billions of celestial jades for nothing. Everyone, this is the first level of the divine immortal realm beast with the fire attribute. With our strength, we can easily kill it. Stay alert. I'll reward anyone who can deal a fatal blow to it with 100 million celestial jades. Also, I'll find a clean woman from the town and give her to you. Zhou Wu ordered in a low voice when he sensed the beast was approaching them. Yes, leader. Initially, they were still a little afraid. However, after hearing Zhou Wu's order, they clenched their fists, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They were ready to die at any time. While they were holding their breaths, the beast appeared in their sight. It was a ferocious beast with a thick mane all over its body that looked like a wild boar. Every strand of its mane flickered with a strange light, as if it was highly poisonous. When Jiang Chen saw it, he thought of the thing he saw in the Water Domain Palace. Although the beast in front of them was bigger, it was still too young and nauseating. When they saw the beasts also saw them. All of a sudden, the ferocious beasts rushed over. The dense gray and black trees around them were easily destroyed by it. Even some of the weaker ferocious beasts nearby fled in fear when they sensed its chi. Brother Jiang Chen, this is a divine immortal realm ferocious beast. Don't worry too much. Just treat it as an ordinary cultivator. We can only kill it if we join forces. At the same time, we won't let our brother suffer too many injuries. Zhou Wu swallowed his saliva. His injuries had not completely healed, and there was only a little immortal energy left in his body. Other than relying on Jiang Chen, he had no other choice. All right, I'll do it. Jiang Chen slowly drew out the wooden sword on his back. This thing might not work. You can use mine first. When we get back to town, I'll get you a suitable weapon. Zhou Wu handed the broadsword in his hand to Jiang Chen. At the same time, he stretched out his hand to grab the wooden cart. No need, I'm quite comfortable with this wooden sword. Jiangchen shook his head and declined his good intentions. Seeing Jiangchen insist on using the wooden sword, although Zhou Wu did not understand, there was nothing he could do. He could only hope that this wooden sword might be something special. However, he had lived for so long. A wooden sword, even if wood was rare, was still wood. Just as he was talking to Jiangchen, the beast had already rushed over. Ignoring Jiangchen, Zhou Wu immediately raised the broadsword in his hand and went up to meet the beast. Although he knew that he might be injured, he had to rush forward. He could not show any cowardice in front of his subordinates. If the news spread that a celestial venerable expert was frightened by a first-stage immortal realm beast, he would not be able to stay in Mercenary Town anymore. Jiangchen did not hesitate and rushed forward as well. However, he suppressed his strength a little. With Jiangchen and another celestial venerable expert joining in, Zhou Wu obviously felt more relaxed. Moreover, when he attacked, he also paid attention to Jiangchen. When he saw that Jiangchen was wielding the wooden sword in his hand, he felt more at ease. He knew that his knowledge was shallow. Although it was a wooden sword, it might still have a certain amount of power. Even though the great beast was having a hard time dealing with the three of them, it was able to hold its own due to the fact that it possessed a powerful beastly body and had a poisonous mane. After being forced to retreat by the beast, Zhou Wu saw that its mouth suddenly opened wide. He hurriedly activated the immortal energy in his body to dodge. Whoosh! The moment he moved away, a cloud of black turbid gas was suddenly spat out from the beast's mouth. The mercenaries who were hiding behind Zhou Wu and thought that they were temporarily safe were directly hit by the black turbid gas. Those who were stronger were able to dodge it. Those who were weaker were shrouded by the turbid gas. Instantly screams were heard. The moment the black turbid gas shrouded them, the group of cultivators felt that their bodies were being corroded. Even if they activated all the immortal energy in their bodies to resist, it was useless. That was close. Zhou Wu, who had dodged the black turbid gas, gasped for a while and sighed with lingering fear. Fortunately, he was standing in front of the other mercenaries. If he was standing in front of his subordinates, he was afraid that just one move would be enough to kill most of his subordinates. However, Zhou Wu did not feel good when he saw the group of people howling so miserably. This group of people was used to attract the wood attribute beast. Now that they had suffered heavy casualties in front of this beast, it was undoubtedly indirectly weakening his strength. Brothers, don't hold back anymore. Let's kill it together. Otherwise, more of our brothers will be injured and may even attract other beasts. When that time comes, we will be in real trouble. Taking a deep breath, Zhou Wu gathered most of his immortal energy into the broadsword in his hand. The broadsword, which was originally full of scars, was suddenly filled with immortal energy. He aimed at the beast and swung it down with all his might. The powerful sword sheath swept towards the beast. As for the immortal realm cultivator, he also displayed his special skill. The wooden stick in his hand suddenly softened and turned into a stream of light that swept in front of the beast. As he chanted, the wooden stick instantly trapped the beast and temporarily restrained its cultivation. Brother Jiangchen, it has been trapped by me. Quickly attack with me and kill it. Seeing that Jiangchen was still in a daze, Zhou Wu hurriedly shouted. Okay. Jiangchen shouted in a low voice. After pretending for a while, a color-changing light flashed. He jumped hard and slashed heavily on the back of the beast. Under the two attacks, especially when it was firmly restrained, the beast lost the chance to resist and could only take it head-on. Boom! A violent fluctuation appeared. The beast was hit by this fluctuation and fell to the ground in an instant, unable to stand up again. Okay. After seeing this scene, Zhou Wu instantly relaxed and said loudly. Chapter 1962. Under the joint attack of the three, the savage beast took a solid hit. Its tough mane was split open, revealing the fiery red flesh underneath. If we find a suitable seller, we can earn at least 2 billion immortal jades. The Immortal Realm expert withdrew his staff. However, the savage beast suddenly went berserk the moment it was freed from his control. It stared at the Immortal Realm expert, knowing that if he had not trapped it, it would have easily dodged such an immortal technique. Roar! The savage beast roared angrily. Just as the Immortal Realm expert was feeling complacent and relaxed, a fierce slap came toward him. The Immortal Realm expert did not even have time to react before the slap landed on his body. Suli! Zhou Wu's eyes turned scarlet when he saw the scene in front of him. After launching the attack, the savage beast seemed to have exhausted all of its energy and fell to the ground with a loud thud. However, the Immortal Realm expert who was slapped by the savage beast was indeed badly mutilated. He, who was in high spirits and thought that he would at least get a few 100 million immortal jades, was now lying on the ground with blood flowing out of his mouth. His limbs were broken and his chest was completely caved in. Seeing that the savage beast was completely dead, Zhou Wu quickly ran over. Suli, how are you feeling? Seeing his subordinate in such a miserable state, Zhou Wu could not even reach out to help him up. He could only kneel on one knee in front of him and ask anxiously, Leader Zhou, save me! After the Immortal Realm expert called Suli uttered those words, his aura vanished. Zhou Wu was stunned on the spot. After a while, he gradually calmed down. He looked at the savage beast in front of him, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Losing an Immortal Realm expert meant that even if they found a 5th-level wood-attributed savage beast, with the strength of Jiang Chen and his subordinates, they would not be a match for it. Is he dead? Jiang Chen carried the wooden sword on his back and walked forward to ask. That's right. He was caught off guard and was hit by the ferocious beast. Even if he is also an Immortal Realm expert, he can't survive. Zhou Wu sighed heavily and said, Brother Jiangchen, let's rest for a while. I have to think about whether to go back or continue on. With just the two of us, even if we encounter a 5th-level Divine Immortal Realm immortal beast, I'm afraid we won't be able to do anything to it. If I go back now, won't I be ridiculed by the town? Jiangchen glanced into the depths of the forest. He really wanted to go in, but he still had to listen to Zhou Wu's instructions. If he wanted to go in alone, he had to at least understand the situation in the vicinity. Then, he had to obtain information about the Vermilion Bird clan from Zhou Wu. That's right. Zhou Wu was also in a dilemma. When they set off, they had caused a huge commotion. The mercenary groups in the nearby towns all knew that they were going to the forest to hunt divine Immortal Realm beasts. If they went back now, they would be ridiculed by others. Even the Beast Slayer mercenary group would lose face. If the two of us work together, we might still have a chance, Jiangchen advised. Actually, if we go back now, a Heavenly Immortal Realm Ferocious Beast and a Level 1 Divine Immortal Realm Ferocious Beast are enough to make us proud. However, if we can capture a Level 5 Divine Immortal Realm Ferocious Beast, then no one in the entire mercenary town can challenge the authority of our Beast Slayer mercenary group. Do you dare? Zhou Wu suddenly had a crazy idea in his mind. Why wouldn't I dare? Jiangchen said with a smile. Good, I admire a young man like you who has guts. Seeing that Jiangchen had no intention of backing down, Zhou Wu laughed loudly. He stood up and said to his men, You guys bring the body of the Divine Immortal Realm Beast back to the manor. The rest of you, follow me and Jiangchen, and continue to go into the forest. Leader, where's Suli? One of his men pointed at the body on the ground and asked. Bring it back and find a place to bury it. He has been in our Beast Slayer mercenary group for more than 100 years. Now that he's unfortunately killed, it's better for him to be buried in peace, Zhou Wu said with a deep sigh. Suli's death was a big blow to him. Under his arrangement, everyone was divided into two groups. One group went out of the forest and left with the body of the beast and Suli, while the other group stayed here and waited for Zhou Wu's arrangement. As for those mercenaries who were seriously injured, they could only admit that they were unlucky and left in a hurry. Brother Jiangchen, if you encounter any danger, don't worry about anything and immediately run out of here. Do you understand? Looking at the group of people leaving, Zhou Wu whispered to Jiangchen. Oh? Jiangchen raised his eyebrows. As long as the two of us are alive, the Beast Slayer mercenary group will not be disbanded. Even if all the mercenaries under us die in the forest, it won't take long for us to recruit new mercenaries. Zhou Wu's tone was even lower. He was afraid that his men would overhear it. Give up on them? Jiangchen understood the meaning of his words. I don't mean to give up on them. I just mean when we encounter danger. Zhou Wu was worried that Jiangchen would misunderstand his words, so he quickly explained. He was afraid that when Jiangchen thought that they were in danger, he would also give up on them. However, the more Zhou Wu explained, the more confused he became. In the end, he didn't even bother to explain. Everyone, have you rested well? Jiangchen stood up with a smile and asked the mercenaries who were sitting down to take a rest. Even if Zhou Wu didn't say it, Jiangchen would only act on the premise of protecting his own safety. He didn't want to call Huixian, Ao Zhan, and the others here. Yes, everyone said in unison. They were also impressed by the strength Jiangchen had exerted in the fight against the fierce beasts. They all believed that Jiangchen's cultivation was only a little lower than their leaders. Compared to Suli, who had just died, he was many times stronger. Zhou Wu waved his arm. Everyone got up and followed behind him and Jiangchen. They continued to walk into the depths of the wild forest. With every step they took forward, they carefully observed their surroundings. In the past, it wasn't easy to encounter a heaven immortal realm beast. As for the divine immortal realm, they had to spend a lot of time looking for one. But this time, they had only been in the forest for less than a day. They actually encountered two such powerful beasts in a row. It was inevitable that they would feel fearful. It would be fine if they encountered a fifth-level divine immortal realm wood attributed beast. If they encountered other divine immortal realm beasts, not many of them would be able to leave alive. Brother Jiangchen, please sense the surroundings more. Zhou Wu walked in front of everyone, holding the broadsword in his hand tightly. Chapter 1963. After attacking twice in a row, the immortal chi in his body was showing signs of drying up. Although he had taken a large number of pills just now, it would take at least 2 days for the effects of the pills to take effect. Okay. Jiangchen nodded in agreement. In his perception, there were no powerful ferocious beasts within 1,000 meters. However, a few hundred meters to their left, there seemed to be cultivators fighting with ferocious beasts. It seems that the bad luck has passed and the good luck has arrived. Zhou Wu could sense the few hundred meters away even without Jiangchen's reminder. What do you mean? Jiangchen did not understand. Brother Jiangchen, the cultivation of this group of people is around the Heaven Immortal stage. The leader is a Stage 3 Immortal stage. I guess they are from the Wolf Head mercenary group. This mercenary group has always had a grudge with us. They even openly snatched business from us. I didn't expect to meet them here. Zhou Wu sneered and circulated the remaining immortal force in his body to completely absorb the effects of the pills. You want to attack them? Jiangchen frowned slightly. He only wanted to stay in the Beast Slayer mercenary group for a while and learn more about the wild forest and the Vermilion Bird tribe. He did not want to be involved in this battle. Of course, now is the best time to kill them. Brother Jiangchen, let's sneak over and attack them when they are exhausted. Zhou Wu's eyes turned scarlet as he spoke. In the years of the Beast Slayer mercenary group's existence, he had taken care of many opponents openly and secretly to stabilize his position in the mercenary town. The Wolf Head mercenary group was his greatest worry. If he could succeed today, no one in the mercenary town would be a match for the Beast Slayer mercenary group within 10 years. Under Zhou Wu's command, everyone crept over. In less than a quarter of an hour, Zhou Wu's group had already crouched in the thicket, covering hundreds of meters. Not far in front of them, dozens of people from the Wolf Head mercenary group were fighting with a Stage 1 Immortal Stage ferocious beast. Due to the fact that their strength was slightly weaker, they had to pay a heavy price. The ferocious beast did not seem to have suffered any fatal injuries and was still resisting fiercely. On the Wolf Head mercenary group's side, there were already close to 100 people lying on the ground. TSK. Coming to the desolate forest to hunt immortal stage wild beasts with this level of strength. You really think too highly of your cultivation base. Seeing the situation before him, Zhou Wu could not stop himself from laughing out. He slowly gripped the broadsword. When the divine immortal realm expert was forced to retreat, he instantly charged out. Behind him, dozens of mercenaries followed closely. The wolf-head mercenaries panicked when they saw the sudden appearance of this group of people. Zhou Wu, what are you trying to do? Chintai clutched his chest. He had just taken a blow from the beast. Although it wasn't a fatal wound, 3 of his ribs had been broken and pierced into his internal organs, causing his strength to weaken instantly. Even breathing became difficult for him. Brother Chintai, I see that you guys are having a hard time dealing with this divine celestial stage ferocious beast. Seeing that we're all brothers from the mercenary town, I've specially brought my men to help you. You won't refuse, right? Zhou Wu stabbed the broadsword into the ground and asked. Zhou Wu, don't play this game. The rule of the mercenary town is that no matter what grudges you have, you can't settle them in the desolate forest. Do you want to break this rule and be blamed by all the mercenary groups? Chintai gritted his teeth and scolded in a low voice. But if you don't say it, who will know that I'm the one who did it here? They'll only think that the wolf-head mercenaries are too weak and that you were attacked by the ferocious beast in the desolate forest, and everyone died in there. It's not like this hasn't happened before, Zhou Wu said with a smile. Could it be? Chintai was shocked. He suddenly understood. Could it be that those mercenary groups that went missing in the desolate forest were related to the Beast Slayer mercenary group? Zhou Wu, I'm warning you, don't go too far. Although the strength of the wolf-head mercenaries is not as good as yours, we've all suffered serious injuries. If we really fight, it's hard to say who will win. Chintai took a deep breath. When he noticed that the immortal power in Zhou Wu's body was very weak, he instantly understood what was going on. Is that so? Zhou Wu sneered and said, Brother Jiangchen, show Chintai your strength. Chintai raised his head when he heard Zhou Wu's words. He saw an unfamiliar young man who was slowly emitting the cultivation base of a 5th-level immortal realm expert. Damn it! Chintai cursed angrily. With an uninjured 5th-level celestial immortal realm expert around, they were no match for Zhou Wu and the others. Chintai looked at the ferocious beast behind him. Chintai was in a dilemma. In order to kill the ferocious beast, the wolf-head mercenaries had paid a huge price. Not only were they seriously injured, but only 30 to 40 of their men were left. It would be a pity if they gave up now. However, with an uninjured expert like Jiang Chen standing here, they had no chance of winning. After thinking about it, Chintai decided to leave first. Let go of the ferocious beast and leave! Chintai waved his hand forcefully and glared at Zhou Wu as he prepared to leave with his men. Who said you can leave? Zhou Wu quickly sent his men to stop them. Zhou Wu, I've already given the injured ferocious beast to you. Don't be so shameless! Chintai took a deep breath. Brother Jiangchen, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and kill him. Chen Wu became anxious when he saw Jiangchen standing there motionlessly. If Jiangchen did not make a move, he might not be a match for Chintai and the others with his current injuries. I won't interfere in your feud. Jiangchen frowned slightly. Haha, Leader Zhou Wu, it seems like this young man has a sense of justice. Chintai relaxed after hearing Jiangchen's words. He laughed out loud when he saw the ferocious beast was about to be killed by his men. You! Zhou Wu glared at Jiangchen. However, due to Jiangchen's strength, he did not dare to say anything. He could only watch as Chintai and the others killed the ferocious beast and left with the ferocious beast's corpse. Brother Jiangchen, why didn't you kill them just now? If they died here, our Beast Slayer mercenary group would have no more opponents. You'd be able to get more celestial jades. Zhou Wu could not take this lying down. He rushed to Jiangchen and asked. Chapter 1964. Are you using me as a gun? Jiangchen looked up at him and asked indifferently. How can I use you as a gun? Zhou Wu was a little embarrassed and quickly explained. You have already joined our Beast Slayer mercenary group. Naturally, you have to contribute to the mercenary group. By killing Chintai and the others, not only will we have one less strong opponent in the future, but you will also get 300 million immortal jades from selling that beast. I'm not interested in this. I won't interfere with the matters of the Beast Slayer mercenary group. I'll decide what to do in the future based on the situation. Jiang Qun waved his hand and said indifferently. You! Zhou Wu was speechless. He thought that Jiang Qun would be a very capable subordinate, but he didn't expect that Jiang Chen's temper would be so strange. Although he was angry, Jiang Chen's strength was still there. He didn't dare to reprimand Jiang Chen directly, and could only choose to give in. Let's go and find that wood-attributed beast. Jiang Chen didn't talk to him anymore and walked towards the depths of the forest. Zhou Wu fiercely waved his broadsword twice. After escaping from the desolate mountain range, Chintai and the others could finally relax. Leader, it was really dangerous today. We almost died in there. One of Chintai's subordinates walked beside him and said with lingering fear. That's right. If it weren't for the fact that that brat didn't listen to Zhou Wu's orders, we would have definitely died in Zhou Wu's hands. We would have had to let go of the murderer that was in our hands. Chintai panted heavily. But that kid is obviously Zhou Wu's subordinate. Why didn't he listen to his orders? The subordinate asked curiously. Maybe he has his own reasons. Let's do this. When they come out of the desolate mountain range, find a way to get in touch with this person. If we can rope him into our wolf-head mercenary group, then Zhou Wu's family won't be the only big shot in the mercenary town. We will also have the strength to challenge him. Chintai thought about the situation and said to his subordinate. But that kid is only at the 5th layer of the immortal realm. Zhou Wu is an immortal venerable. His subordinates didn't understand. What do you know? Chen Wu's cultivation base is only at the immortal venerable realm. It's already not bad for him to display the strength of the divine immortal realm. On the other hand, that kid is at the 5th level of the divine immortal realm. Can't you see that Chen Wu is seriously injured while that kid is fine? Forget it, you won't understand even if I tell you. Just do as I say. When Chintai spoke halfway, he lost the desire to continue. I understand. When they arrive, I'll go and talk to that kid. Chintai's subordinates understood the gist of the situation from his words. The next day, Zhou Wu recovered some of his immortal energy. Although he couldn't display 100% of his strength, he didn't feel empty or weak anymore. He still held a grudge against Jiang Chen for ruining their chance to deal with the wolf-head mercenary group. Not only would it be less likely for Jiang Chen to kill them in the future, but Jiang Chen would also be aware of what he had done. Zhou Wu made up his mind. If there was a next time, he would definitely teach Jiang Chen a lesson. No matter how high one's cultivation base was, they couldn't disobey his orders in the mercenary group. Otherwise, once Jiang Chen established his position in the mercenary group, it was possible for him to topple him. 2,000 meters to the left, there's a 5th-level divine immortal wood-attributed savage beast. It should have just broken through, so I don't know if it meets the requirements. Jiang Chen walked beside the group with his hands behind his back. He said faintly when he sensed the savage beast's energy fluctuation. Are you sure? Zhou Wu's expression turned serious. I'm sure, Jiang Chen said in a deep voice. Brothers, we've found the savage beast. If we can kill it successfully, everyone who survives will get 100 million immortal jades. Zhou Wu looked at the remaining 30 to 40 people and shouted at them in a low voice. Of the 30 to 40 people, only 10 or so would be able to return alive. In fact, among these 10 people, most of them would definitely be heavily injured. Although he talked big, he only had to pay 3 billion immortal jades in the end. In exchange, the 30 to 40 people would charge forward and risk their lives for him. Let's go! Under Zhou Wu's lead, dozens of people moved to the left. About an hour later, everyone could clearly see a dark green ferocious beast gnawing on the withered grass and rotten leaves on the ground. Sure enough! Brother Jiang Chen, I'm afraid that your perception is not even comparable to some immortal venerables. Seeing the situation in front of him, Zhou Wu completely forgot the fear in his heart. His mind was full of thoughts that as long as he could complete this task, he could at least earn 2 billion immortal jades. As for the few 100 million immortal jades that he would give to Jiang Chen, he could bargain for a lower price later. Leader Shou, you're praising me too much, Jiang Chen said with a smile. Brother Jiang Chen, you have the highest cultivation base in the mercenary group except for me. What do you think we should do to kill it? Zhou Wu stared at the savage in front of him and asked. I don't have a plan. Just go ahead. Jiang Chen shook his head. If he exerted all his strength, he could seriously injure this savage beast with just a wave of his immortal force. There was no need for a plan or cooperation. Well, let's just go ahead. Zhou Wu gritted his teeth. Taking advantage of the savage beast lowering its head to eat grass, he directly rushed up with the broadsword in his hand. At this moment, Jiang Chen did not hesitate. His figure flickered and directly appeared behind the savage beast. The palm that contained the ice was suddenly slammed into its butt. Roar! After being hit, the savage beast was immediately enraged. It spat out the leaves in its mouth and looked up to see Zhou Wu rushing towards it. After looking at the savage beast, Zhou Wu felt his heart turn cold. He stopped in time and quickly dodged to the side. Chi! The moment he left the place, a sharp wooden thorn drilled out of the ground. Don't just stand there. Let's attack together. After taking 2 deep breaths and seeing that Jiang Chen had already launched a series of attacks on the savage beast, he quickly turned his head and shouted to his men behind him. 30 to 40 people rushed up together and used all their skills. Compared to them, Jiang Chen was very relaxed. He deliberately held back every time he attacked. Not only could he cause some damage to the savage beast, but it was also not so powerful that it would kill it instantly. On the other hand, Zhou Wu was having a hard time. His cultivation base was very weak. His strength was no different from an ordinary 3rd-level immortal realm cultivator. Facing a 5th-level immortal savage beast with rough skin and thick flesh, it was almost impossible for him to win. The only thing he could do was to attract the savage beast's attention as much as possible so that Jiang Chen and his men could find its weakness. Chapter 1965. However, apart from Jiang Chen, those ordinary subordinates couldn't pose any threat to the beast. Their fancy and powerful immortal techniques couldn't even scratch the beast's skin, let alone inflict any internal injuries. Brother Jiang Chen, are you still holding back? Chen Wu shouted at Jiang Chen when he realized that he couldn't hold back the beast any longer. Although he didn't know Jiang Chen and couldn't sense Jiang Chen's exact condition, he knew that Jiang Chen's cultivation base was at the 5th level of the immortal realm, while his true strength was at the 3rd level of the immortal realm. Logically speaking, Jiang Chen should be stronger than him. However, Jiang Chen's current performance was even weaker than his. Commander Zhou, I've already done my best. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly and pretended to wipe the cold sweat off his forehead. AI! Zhou Wu sighed heavily. He couldn't stop the fierce beasts, and he knew Jiang Chen wasn't as strong as he had thought, so he decided to use his trump card. Otherwise, he and his subordinates would probably die here that day. Zhou Wu retreated a few steps and tore open his outer clothes. There was a faintly circulating rune on his chest. Open! Without hesitation, he pressed his palm on the rune. As he spoke, his chi rose rapidly, reaching the half-step immortal venerable realm in just a blink of an eye. Even his body had become a little more muscular. His strength has increased so much. It doesn't seem to be an ordinary immortal technique. Jiang Chen was slightly surprised by the increase in Zhou Wu's strength. But so what? It was still too weak compared to his cultivation base of the 1st level of the immortal venerable realm. After the increase in his strength, Zhou Wu picked up his broadsword and charged at the beast once more. This time, with the help of Jiang Chen, the two of them had the intention of suppressing the beast. Meanwhile, the subordinates were pouring more immortal force into the beast. They all knew. Although the group leader's secret technique could greatly increase his strength in a short period of time, it could only last for less than the time it took for an incense stick to burn. After that time, his body would become extremely weak and he would need someone to carry him down the mountain. Brother Jiangqin, I only have 15 minutes. Don't hold back anymore. Let's end this quickly. Zhou Wu waved the broadsword in his hand and chopped down heavily on the beast's head. After his strength had increased, this attack directly sank into the beast's head. Roar! After feeling the pain, the beast was completely enraged. As the blood flowed down from the top of its head, it suddenly grabbed forward. At this time, Zhou Wu had just finished releasing his move. His whole body was a little stiff as he stopped in midair. He could only watch as the giant hand grabbed him. Captain Zhou, be careful! Jiangqin raised his eyebrows and released a small extreme ice domain around him. As the beast's speed slowed down, Zhou Wu managed to dodge it. He did not have time to thank Jiangqin. Once again, he lifted his broadsword and slashed at the beast's thigh. Pa! This time, the beast reacted. The broadsword had not yet cut its thigh. It suddenly lifted its leg and kicked forward. Zhou Wu could not react in time and was hit hard in the chest by the kick. Captain? Seeing this scene, many of his subordinates shouted out loudly. Bang! Zhou Wu flew backward for more than 10 meters and fell on a tree trunk before he stopped. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Zhou Wu endured the pain in his chest and rushed forward again. For 15 minutes he and Jiangqin kept attacking the beast. Although the beast was injured, it did not lose its ability to fight. Every time it resisted, at least a few of its subordinates were killed. Under the continuous attacks, the immortal power in Zhou Wu's body was declared exhausted. The duration of the secret technique was about to end. However, the beast in front of him did not suffer any fatal injuries. Damn it, let's fight. Zhou Wu took a deep breath. He knew that once the secret technique ended, it would be a dead end. With the cultivation that Jiangqin had shown, it was absolutely impossible for him to stop the beast. Their group would definitely die in the wild forest. He gathered all the remaining immortal power in his body and prepared to launch the final attack. However, before he could mobilize his immortal power, a sense of weakness suddenly spread throughout his body. Immediately after, a sharp pain attacked him. He knelt on the ground uncontrollably and gasped for breath. It's over. Zhou Wu's vision turned black. He knew that the secret technique's duration was over. Seeing the beast lift its leg and charge at him with a powerful aura, Zhou Wu wanted to dodge, but there was no way for him to do so. His body was so weak that he did not even have the strength to lift his arm. He could only watch as the huge hoof grew bigger and bigger in front of him. Boom! Just as he was about to close his eyes and wait for death, a wail rang out. The beast fell to the ground with a loud bang. Captain Zhou, are you injured? Jiangqin quickly ran over and asked. I'm fine. My body is too weak after using the secret technique. I thought I was going to die here. I didn't expect you to be able to kill him. Looking at the dead beast beside him, Zhou Wu's body directly went limp. He was only a moment away from death. If Jiangqin was just a little bit slower, he would have died without a doubt. Fortunately, Captain Zhou is strong. Otherwise, I might not have been able to kill him. Jiangqin clasped his fists and said, It's just a matter of a moment. Zhou Wu was somewhat embarrassed by Jiangqin's praise. In the mercenary town, everyone knew that he was an immortal venerable expert and the strongest captain among the hundreds of mercenary groups. However, only his subordinates knew that his immortal venerable realm was fake. Even after using the secret technique, he could only reach the strength of a half-step immortal venerable. However, a half-step immortal venerable was still worthy of being called an immortal venerable. Captain Zhou, the beast is dead. Can we go back now? Jiangqin looked into the depths of the forest. He could vaguely feel that there was an even stronger beast in the forest. That kind of strength was something that even he might not be able to deal with. Let's go. Help me up. Let's go back. Zhou Wu struggled to stand up. When he saw Jiangchen looking into the depths of the forest, he hastily advised. Brother Jiangchen, this is our limit. If we continue to go deeper, I'm afraid we won't even have a corpse left. All right. Jiangchen reached out and pulled him up. Brothers, hold on a little longer. After we bring the beasts back, we will rest for a month. In addition, I will recruit some new members. Zhou Wu clenched his fist and said while looking at the dozen of them who were still able to stand up. This time, they entered the desolate forest. The harvest was huge. 2 divine immortal beasts and 1 heavenly immortal beast. Chapter 1966. The price he had to pay was equally high. His divine immortal realm subordinates had died here, and the other ordinary disciples had also lost hundreds of people. Among this group of people, there were many who had followed him for decades. Of course, there were also some who had just joined the mercenary group not long ago. If he wanted to replenish all of them, he was afraid that it would take at least 10 years or so. Under the lead of Jiangchen and Zhou Wu, the group of people left the desolate forest. At this time, the mercenary town was already in an uproar. They continuously looked at the fierce beasts brought back by the Beast Slayer mercenary group. 2 divine immortal realm fierce beasts, what's going on? Could it be that they have just recruited a divine immortal realm expert? That's hard to say. Seeing Zhou Wu leading people into the manor, the mercenaries in the town all looked at them with envy. They knew that this group of people would at least get 50 million immortal jades. This was an amount that made them very envious. Brother Jiangchen, did you see that? This is the strength of our Beast Slayer mercenary group. In the entire mercenary town, we are the strongest. Wait until you go out with me a few more times, then I will promote you to vice leader. At that time, you will be the same as me, receiving their respect. Oh right, wait for me to go back and rest for a while, then I will find you 2 clean women and let you have some fun. Hearing the voices around him, Zhou Wu said proudly. I'm not interested. Jiangchen shook his head and said. He already had Bai Feng Yu, Xian Yu and the others, so he was not interested in other women. As for those mediocre women, Jiangchen really didn't care about them. It can't be, can it be that you can't do that? Zhou Wu looked at Jiangchen with some surprise. He had never heard of such a thing. Almost every man in this town would go there as long as they had money. A mercenary group leader like him would find 3 or 4 women to keep in the manor for his pleasure. You can say that. Jiangchen was too lazy to explain anything, so he went along with his words. Unexpectedly, the way Zhou Wu looked at Jiangchen suddenly became much more pitiful. He sighed heavily and said, Brother, then you really can't experience the joy of life. With your strength, if you don't have that kind of ability, it's really a pity. Yes. Jiangchen nodded. As they spoke, everyone returned to the manor. The 3 ferocious beasts were all placed in the manor, and many people stood outside to watch. Among the hundreds of mercenary groups in Mercenary Town, at most, only 5 mercenary groups could kill immortal realm ferocious beasts. As for the Beast Slayer mercenary group, they were probably the only mercenary group that could hunt 2 at a time. Lock them all up at the back of the manor, and guard them strictly. Also, inform the buyer that we have already done what they asked us to do. Tell them to bring the immortal jades here. We will exchange the money and the goods at the same time. Even though Zhou Wu's injuries were very serious, he still forced himself to speak as he looked at the people surrounding him. Yes, Commander. Everyone shouted in unison. Then they hurriedly carried the ferocious beasts inside. Looking at their actions, Zhou Wu's face suddenly darkened, and he immediately walked into the manor. Jiangchen lifted his foot and followed behind him. The moment he walked into a room, Zhou Wu instantly relaxed. He sat on the ground limply, blood kept flowing out of his mouth, and his aura immediately withered. Brother Jiangchen, I suffered a backlash from the secret technique, and I'm also seriously injured. I'm afraid I won't be able to leave this room in a short time. In the past, Suli was the one who guarded the mercenary group for me. Now that he's dead, this responsibility can only be handed over to you. Seeing Jiangchen come in, Zhou Wu gasped for breath. He tried his best to stand up, but as soon as his hands touched the ground, he fell down before he could exert any strength. Commander Zhou, you should rest quickly, Jiang Chun hurried to say when he saw him looking like he could die at any moment. You go out first. When the buyer comes, you can communicate with them. Zhou Wu nodded. Although Jiang Chun had just joined the mercenary group, he really didn't know who to give the authority to except for Jiang Chun. If he gave the authority to his subordinates who were only true immortals, he was afraid that he would be bullied to death by the other mercenary groups in the town while he was recuperating. Jiang Chun didn't say anything, pushed the door open and walked out. At the door, there were already many mercenaries standing there. Brother Jiang Chun, how is the commander? Brother Jiang Chun, why didn't Brother Suli come back? When these people saw Jiang Chun, they all asked at the same time. When Suli was in the wild forest, he was killed by the ferocious beasts. The commander is also injured and needs time to recover. During this time, I will be managing the Beast Slayer mercenary group. If any of you have any questions, you can ask Commander Zhou Wu. Jiang Chun glanced at them, threw a sentence, and left in front of them. This group of people looked at Jiang Chen's back. No one doubted his words. They could feel Zhou Wu's injury, and Jiang Chun was now the strongest person in the mercenary group. Even if he was lying, they wouldn't dare to doubt him. Mercenary Town. It was a place where strength was respected. Whoever had a strong cultivation would be the king here, whoever had a weak cultivation would be at the bottom, and even have the risk of being killed at any time. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Jiang Chun had been staying in the manor. After listening to the mercenaries who reported to him, Jiang Chun would ask them openly and secretly about the situation in the wild forest. But the situation they knew was almost useless. Brother Jiang Chun, the buyer is here. A disciple walked into the room and said to Jiang Chun, Let him come in. Jiang Chun nodded. Then, under the disciple's lead, a man holding a horsetail whisk walked in. Jiang Chun? Great Elder Heartless Qingzi? She and Jiang Chun were both struck dumb when they saw the people coming in. The person in front of them was none other than Heartless Qingzi, the great elder of Love Despair Valley. Jiang! No, young master, why are you here? Heartless Qingzi seemed to be in disbelief. Now that Love Despair Valley had joined the 10,000 Mounts Front sect, she naturally had to change the way she addressed him. But she didn't understand why the young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, the Pavilion Master of the Heaven Secret Pavilion, and the Alliance Master of the Overseas Immortal Mountain Alliance would appear in Mercenary Town, and look like the leader of the mercenary group. It's a long story, Elder Heartless Qingzi, it's better not to ask. After Jiang Chun recovered, he asked lightly, Doesn't Love Despair Valley practice ice attribute cultivation techniques? Why do you need the inner core of a wood attribute beast? Sect Master wants to give you a sword, which requires the inner core of a wood attribute beast above the 5th level of the immortal realm. Heartless Qingzi said. Chapter 1967. Give me a sword? Jiang Chun was a little surprised. He remembered that he rarely received gifts from others in his 10 reincarnations. Yes, the sect master has been very grateful to you for what happened some time ago, but she didn't say anything. Heartless Qingzi nodded and said, She said that she saw that you didn't have a good weapon and that you were using immortal qi, so she wanted to give you a weapon. Can your sect take out so many immortal jades? Jiang Chun hurriedly asked. He remembered that in order to buy elixirs for himself, they almost cleaned out the entire Love Valley. The humble sect sent a lot of immortal jades, enough for us. Heartless Qingzi said honestly. Well, in that case, I'll wait for the weapon. Jiang Chun didn't continue to ask. He couldn't refuse Wang Min's kind intentions. Young master, have you decided to be a mercenary here in the future? Heartless Qingzi looked at Jiang Chun. She felt that Jiang Chun seemed to be shrouded in a layer of fog, and she couldn't see through him at all. I'm here to investigate something, and it has nothing to do with you. I'll go back when the investigation is out. Great Elder Heartless Qingzi, I hope you won't tell anyone about this when you go back, not even Wang Min, okay? Jiang Chun took a deep breath and said slowly, Young master, don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Heartless Qingzi flicked the horsetail whisk in his hand and said, Well, go ahead. Jiangchen nodded and said, Young master, these are the immortal jade's promissory notes. I've asked the disciples to leave with the beast. Heartless Qingzi took a few steps forward and put some notes on the table next to Jiangchen. Then he bowed and cupped his hands before his chest. He saluted Jiangchen and walked out quickly. After a while, Jiangchen saw the people of Love Valley leaving with the beast. After exhaling a mouthful of foul air, Jiangchen prepared to go into seclusion for a few days and comprehend the sword arts within the vermilion bird talisman sword. Although it required a special imprint, it didn't mean that he couldn't cultivate it without it. Big brother Jiangchen, the wolf-head mercenaries are here. Just as Jiangchen was about to leave, a mercenary hurriedly ran in. Wolf-head mercenary group? Don't they have a grudge with us? Jiangchen frowned slightly as he recalled what Zhou Wu had said to him in the wild forest. They said that they know that Captain Zhou Wu is injured. They are also part of the top mercenary group in Mercenary Town, so they want to visit him. The mercenary continued. Big brother Jiangchen, why don't you just give the order to kill them? Let them in. Jiangchen waved his hand and said, I'm still curious. How did they know that Captain Zhou Wu was seriously injured? They have spies in our mercenary group. The mercenary answered Jiangchen's question directly. This was already a publicly known secret in Mercenary Town. Take their Beast Slayer mercenary group as an example. Hundreds of mercenary groups in several mercenary towns had their own informants. These informants would report the situation of each mercenary group to them. They would also secretly take action and ruin their businesses. Let them in. Jiangchen waved his hand and said. With Jiangchen's order, the mercenary immediately ran towards the entrance of the manor. A moment later, Chentai came in with a few subordinates. They were even using bamboo poles to carry a few boxes. Brother Jiangchen, long time no see. As soon as Chentai entered the room, he saw Jiangchen sitting inside. He walked over quickly and cupped his hands at Jiangchen, who was sitting inside. Captain Chentai, the relationship between our two mercenary groups isn't that good. If you walk in so openly, I'm afraid that others will misunderstand. Jiangchen looked at him and said with a frown. Grudges aside, we still have to walk around. Brother Jiangchen, thank you for showing mercy that day in the desolate forest. Otherwise, I'm afraid that we would have died in there. After his subordinates put down the boxes, Chentai waved his hand and asked them to leave. No need to thank me. I just don't want to interfere in your matters. Jiangchen smiled faintly. I can see that brother Jiangchen is a very principled cultivator. But it's a pity that you're staying in the Beast Slayer mercenary group. Chentai still had a smile on his face. When he came, he had already thought of all the things that he should say and shouldn't say. He even came up with different responses to Jiangchen's question, even considering how Jiangchen would answer him. Oh? Why? Jiangchen raised his eyebrows. Brother Jiangchen is so principled, but Zhou Wu and his Beast Slayer mercenary group are unprincipled. In the past 100 years, who knows how many methods they used openly and secretly to get rid of the opponents that threatened them in Mercenary Town. You should know this. Otherwise, he wouldn't have wanted to make a move against me in the wild forest. Seeing that Jiangchen didn't refute immediately, Chentai felt that there was hope and quickly continued. It should be. Jiangchen nodded and said. Then, brother Jiangchen, why don't you join our wolf-head mercenary group? We have been a mercenary group for hundreds of years before Zhou Wu came here. Although our strength is not as good as them, we are still ranked in the top 10 in all the towns. As long as you join, I will immediately give you the position of vice captain. In the future, we will be on equal footing. As for the immortal jades, you get 60% and I get 40%. How about it? Chentai was ready to strike while the iron was hot and take down Jiangchen in one fell swoop. Forget it, I'm not interested. Jiangchen waved his hand and said. Don't, brother Jiangchen. As long as you join our wolf-head mercenary group, we will do whatever you say. Chentai was a little flustered. After hearing his words, Jiangchen originally wanted to chase him out, but suddenly had a new idea. Are you sure? Jiang Chen raised his head and looked at him as he asked. Of course, as long as I can do it, brother Jiang Chen, just say the word and I will do it. Chen Tai patted his chest and a smile appeared on his face once again. I wonder if Captain Chen Tai has heard of the Vermilion Bird Tribe? Jiang Chen smiled and waved his hand to close the door of the hall. Soon after, he asked indifferently, Vermilion Bird Tribe? After hearing Jiang Chen's words, the smile on Chen Tai's face quickly disappeared. Soon after, he fell into deep thought. Jiang Chen waited for a while and said, Since Captain Chen Tai doesn't want to talk about it, please leave. I will talk. Brother Jiang Chen, I will talk. Chen Tai clenched his teeth and hurriedly said when he saw that Jiang Chen was about to chase him out. Then say it, I'm listening. Jiang Chen nodded and said, Brother Jiang Chen, I have only heard of the Vermilion Bird Tribe and have never met one. It is said that hundreds of thousands of years ago, this spiritual beast tribe was second to none in the entire immortal realm. Chapter 1968. And then? Jiang Chen was not interested in listening to this nonsense. Then it is said that they disappeared into the wild forest. It seems that there are still remnants of their clan in the deepest part of the forest. However, the wild forest is so huge that even immortal kings cannot enter it easily. It is said that it is adjacent to an unknown territory. Although we have lived here for hundreds of years, we have never heard of anyone seeing anything about the Vermilion Bird clan. It is more like a rumor. After a short pause, Chen Tai told Zhang Xian everything he knew. Is that all you know? Jiang Chen asked with a slight frown. This information was almost the same as not saying anything. Jiang Chen also knew about it. Yes, I don't know anything else, Chen Tai said with a bitter smile. Brother Jiang Chen, you think too highly of me. I'm just a divine immortal realm wandering cultivator. As for the Vermilion Bird clan, it was said that they dominated a region in the immortal realm in the past, and they had many immortal king experts. So, how could I know anything about them? Alright, since that is the case, you can go back first. Jiang Chen nodded. He knew that it would be difficult to get information about the Vermilion Bird clan from him. He would have to start with Zhou Wu. He recalled Zhou Wu's reaction when he mentioned the Vermilion Bird clan. Jiang Chen was sure that Zhou Wu definitely knew something that others did not. Brother Jiang Chen, when will you join our wolf-head mercenary group? Chen Tai stood up and asked. Let me think about it. You can go back first. Don't come back again. Jiang Chen waved his hand at him. All right, brother Jiang Chen, you must think about it. Our wolf-head mercenary group welcomes you at any time. Chen Tai rubbed his hands awkwardly. I will think about it. Jiang Chen nodded and said. Since Jiang Chen had said so, Chen Tai didn't have anything else to say. He cupped his hands at Jiang Chen several times, before he turned around and walked out of the manor. Looking at him, Jiang Chen could not help but sigh. It was almost impossible to obtain any information about the Vermilion Bird clan from these people. Even if Zhou Wu knew something, it was probably not what he wanted to know. Unless he personally went to the desolate forest to investigate. However, Jiang Chen didn't really want to go in since he wasn't familiar with the forest at all. After much consideration, he decided that he could only rest in Mercenary Town for now. Fortunately, he had nothing to do in the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Bai Xianling had also returned to the Heavenly Secret Pavilion. However, Jiang Chen didn't expect that trouble would come knocking on his door just a few days after replacing Zhou Wu to manage the mercenary group. Jiang Chen was comprehending swordsmanship in his room. He was woken up by the noise coming from outside. What's the situation? Jiang Chen frowned as he pushed the door open. The situation of being interrupted made him frown. He was extremely unhappy. Brother Jiang Chen, a few mercenary groups have joined forces to look for trouble. They said that they have been oppressed by us and want to seek an explanation. Seeing that Jiang Chen had come out, these mercenaries had some confidence. They dare to come when I'm not here. Jiang Chen raised his head and asked as he looked at the crowd outside the manor. They dare not. They knew that leader Zhou Wu was seriously injured, so they dared to look for trouble. The mercenary shook his head and said, "In the past, when Zhou Wu was here, this group of people never dared to look for trouble. Now that Zhou Wu was injured, there was only one divine celestial expert in the mercenary group, Jiangchen. Although they were not weak, there were divine celestial experts in the mercenary group. Therefore, they gathered together when they heard the news. Everyone knew that as long as they could get rid of the Beast Slayer mercenary group, they would be able to get a share of Zhou Wu's business and would not be oppressed in the future. Therefore, when Zhou Wu was injured and only Jiangchen was in the manor, it was the best time for them to take action. Let's go and take a look." Jiangchen smiled. He had been in the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect for a long time. Those who came to look for trouble were basically immortal kings or at least immortal monarchs. Now there was a group of people who had not reached the immortal realm who wanted to find trouble with him. Jiangchen did not feel any pressure. Instead, he found it very interesting. Walking to the entrance of the manor, Jiangchen saw this group of people. "You are Jiangchen, right?" After seeing Jiangchen, these people pointed at his nose and asked. "That's right, I am Jiangchen." Jiangchen nodded and said, "If you want to make trouble for me, you'd better wait until Commander Zhou recovers. I'm not interested in you at all." "Ha! Is this person an idiot? We came when Zhou Wu was seriously injured. Who would dare to come when Zhou Wu recovers from his injuries?" Jiangchen's words made them laugh. "Boy, you'd better surrender obediently. Don't be fooled by your cultivation at the 5th level of the immortal realm. With all of us together, you will die." One of them, who was at the 4th level of the immortal realm, pointed at Jiangchen and said loudly, "Who are you?" Jiangchen looked at him. "The leader of the Heavenly Wolf mercenary group, Sun Tianlang." That person said loudly, "Brother Jiangchen, what should we do?" The subordinate stood beside Jiangchen and said anxiously, "Now that leader Zhou Wu is seriously injured and you are no match for them, the end of our Beast Slayer mercenary group is coming. Since you want to settle the score, I will play with you. Each mercenary group will send their strongest to fight with me. If anyone can hurt me, I will give them 1 billion immortal jades. If they can hurt me, they will answer my question. How about it?" Jiangchen ignored his subordinate and continued to look at the people outside the manor with a smile. 1 billion? The mercenaries were not the only ones who were dumbfounded. Even the Beast Slayer mercenary group did not know what Jiangchen was doing. There were at least 20 mercenary groups outside the manor. Even if their cultivation was not as good as Jiangchen's, they would be able to severely injure Jiangchen if they took turns to fight him. 1 billion immortal jades, are you sure? Sun Tianlong's eyes lit up. This was much better than directly attacking the Beast Slayer mercenary group. They knew that even if they defeated the Beast Slayer mercenary group, each mercenary group would only get a few tens of millions of immortal jades. However, Jiangchen offered 1 billion immortal jades. Some of them had never seen so much money in their lives. "Of course, I will keep my word," Jiangchen said with a smile. "All right, since you said so, let's have a fight. But if you renege on your debt, not only will the Beast Slayer mercenary group disappear from the mercenary town, even your life will be in danger." Under the temptation of 1 billion immortal jades, the group of people's eyes lit up. Chapter 1969. Let them come in. Seeing them so excited, Jiangchen said to his subordinates, "Let's go. Big brother Jiangchen, I'm afraid you're no match for them with your strength. Besides, we don't have billions of immortal jades to give them." The men were dumbfounded. They didn't know why Jiangchen agreed. "Listen to me," Jiangchen said faintly. After this group of people entered the manor, more and more people rushed in from outside. They all knew about Jiangchen's arena, and they all wanted to see why Jiangchen was so confident. He would get 1 billion immortal jades for each loss. This was the best deal in the whole immortal realm. "Who's the leader?" Jiangchen stood on the open space of the manor and glanced at them. "Me. Brat, I'll be the one to defeat you today. However, if you keep your word, I can spare your life." However, if you don't hand over the 1 billion immortal jades, we'll attack together and kill you. Sun Tianlang stood out from the crowd and shouted while pointing at Jiangqin. Cut the crap, Jiangqin said. Outside the manor, Qintai also stood among the crowd and looked at Jiangqin. He wanted to eliminate the Beast Slayer mercenary group, but he was afraid of offending Jiangqin. So he decided to wait and see. If Jiangqin was really in danger, he would take action. Not only could he save Jiangqin, but he could also make him owe him a favor. Boy, I hope you can still be so stubborn when I beat you to the ground later. Sun Tianlong's expression was ugly when he was looked down upon by Jiangqin in front of so many people. He walked directly to Jiangqin and clenched his fist. Suddenly, his cultivation of 4th layer Immortal Realm was revealed. As his aura was released, his cultivation also rose. After a while, it finally stopped at 7th layer Immortal Realm. Damn, his real strength is at 7th layer Immortal Realm. He's probably the strongest person in Mercenary Town, second only to Zhou Wu. Zhou Wu isn't as strong as him. Although he's an immortal venerable, his strength is too weak. If they really fight, I guess it'll be a draw. I'm afraid that kid Jiangqin is going to be in trouble. A 5th stage immortal cultivator fighting a 7th stage immortal cultivator. TSK, there's almost no chance of winning. After sensing his strength, many people began to speak one after another. Kid, kneel down and beg for mercy now. Give me 1 billion immortal jades and I'll consider letting you live. Otherwise, I'll destroy you and the Beast Slayer mercenary group today. Sun Tianlang looked at Jiangqin in disdain when he felt the immortal energy filling his body. You want to take the immortal jade from my hands? I'm afraid you don't have the strength to do so. Jiangqin shook his head and smiled. His hands were clasped behind his back, showing no intention of making a move. Looks like you won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Sun Tianlong's eyes turned cold. After attaching his hands with rich immortal energy, he rushed toward Jiangqin. The moment his figure moved, a bark-like substance was attached to his skin. What kind of technique is this? Jiangqin couldn't help but sneer. This is a wood attribute immortal technique. With your knowledge, I'm afraid you're not qualified to come in contact with it. Sun Tianlang seemed to be very confident in his immortal technique. Wood attribute? Jiangqin raised his eyebrows. As soon as his voice fell, the beginning of all beginnings circulated wildly in his body. As Sun Tianlang rapidly approached him, his clenched fist gradually transformed into trees and bombarded him with power. The wood attribute immortal energy in his body suddenly disappeared rapidly. The tree bark attached to his body and the immortal energy gathered in his fists were also quickly drained away. Bang! It was just a kick. Jiangqin kicked him directly in the chest. After taking the blow, Sun Tianlang was immediately sent flying. His whole body flew back more than 10 meters and finally fell hard on the manor's gate. It was just a kick that caused his momentum to dissipate instantly. He stared at Jiangqin with red eyes, but he couldn't understand why the immortal energy in his body disappeared so quickly, as if it was being sucked away. This was a situation he had never encountered before. Leader Sun, what's wrong? Under everyone's gaze, Jiangqin slowly walked in front of him and asked. You're playing dirty. After thinking about it, Sun Tianlang was sure that it was Jiangqin's doing. Otherwise, why would the immortal energy in his body disappear? What's dirty? Jiangqin smiled. He raised his foot and stepped on his face directly, crushing it while he was at it. He said, Leader Sun, it's not that easy to get the immortal jade from me. Sun Tianlang didn't even have the ability to resist being stepped on by Jiangqin on the ground. Jiangqin, let go of me if you have the guts. Seeing that many people were looking at him, Sun Tianlang gritted his teeth and said to Jiangqin. Bang! Jiangqin had just let go of his foot. He directly kicked him in the chest. This kick directly knocked him out. How ruthless! A 7th stage immortal was treated like this in front of him? After seeing this scene, many people covered their mouths in disgust. In their imagination, Jiangqin should have been seriously injured by Sun Tianlang after resisting, but they didn't expect that Sun Tianlang would be so vulnerable in front of Jiang Chen. Although this was because the immortal energy in Sun Tianlong's body suddenly disappeared, they were not fools and naturally knew that Jiang Chen had secretly done something. Anyone else? Jiang Chen glanced at the group of people standing in front of him and asked indifferently. The two of us cultivate the same celestial technique, and we've been cultivating together since birth. Only when the two of us attack together will we be able to unleash 100% of our strength. You won't refuse, right? Two people stood up at the same time. Just when everyone was scolding them for being shameless, Jiang Chen agreed. 2 third-stage immortals against a 5th-stage immortal. Everyone knew that there was almost no possibility of losing. Even if Jiang Chen had some skills, it was not enough to deal with 2 people at the same time. Big brother Jiang Chen. One of the Beast Slayer mercenary group's men stepped forward and said, "You may leave," Jiang Chen said indifferently. After receiving Jiang Chen's permission, the two of them performed their immortal techniques at the same time. A light curtain poured down from the sky, enveloping them and Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen clearly felt that the immortal energy in his body was blocked to a certain extent. 2 billion immortal jades. The two of them spoke at the same time. Tell me your identity. I, Jiang Chen, don't kill nameless people. Looking at them, Jiang Chen put one hand behind his back and the other hand pulled out the talisman wooden sword from his back. Heavenly Wolf Mercenary Group, Sun Yuan. Heavenly Wolf Mercenary Group, Sun Bao. The two of them said. So you're here to avenge Sun Tianlang. Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows and looked at Sun Tianlang, who was like a dead dog. Chapter 1970. 3 Divine Immortal Realm Experts. Their strength was slightly higher than the Beast Slayer mercenary group. If it weren't for Zhou Wu, a fake celestial venerable expert, they wouldn't have been a match for the Heavenly Wolf mercenary group. We're here for revenge. The two of them didn't try to hide their intentions. All right, let me see what you're capable of, Jiang Chen said as he held his sword with one hand. As soon as he finished speaking, the two of them rushed up from the left and right. They each held a long white stick with extremely dense light attribute celestial force circulating around it. Seeing that they were about to reach him, Jiang Chen circulated the light attribute celestial force in his body and infused it into the talisman wooden sword. The originally ordinary wooden sword suddenly emitted a strong light. Light attribute? The two of them were surprised when they sensed the fluctuation of Jiang Chen's celestial force. When their leader fought with Jiang Chen earlier, he clearly sensed that the celestial force in his body was of the wood attribute. Now they sensed that Jiang Chen's celestial force had changed to the light attribute. Although they knew there were some talented practitioners who could have immortal power of many different attributes in their bodies at the same time, they could not accept the fact that Jiang Chen's cultivation level was almost the same as theirs. However, despite their surprise, they weren't afraid at all. They had cultivated together since they were young and cultivated the same celestial technique. Although their cultivation was only at the 3rd level of the Divine Immortal Realm, when they joined forces, even a 7th-level Divine Immortal Realm expert would be wary. In the past, they had fought with Sun Tianlang when they were in the mercenary group. Now that they were facing Jiang Chen, they were even more confident. Blade of Driving Light! Jiang Chen didn't underestimate his opponent. When the talisman wooden sword was filled with light attribute celestial force, he spoke softly. At this moment, the talisman wooden sword was completely different from before. The sword grew longer and was shrouded in light. Divine Sword Technique! Sun Yuan and Sun Bao rushed to Jiang Chen's left and right at almost the same time. 2 sharp sword chi suddenly appeared and slashed toward Jiang Chen. They were certain that Jiang Chen had used his trump card in the formation. Even if he couldn't kill Jiang Chen, he would at least be seriously injured. At that time, he would be able to get 2 billion immortal jades and avenge Sun Tianlang. The name is quite domineering. Unfortunately, it's too bad. Jiang Chen shook his head. When the sword chi was coming towards him, the light driving blade in his hand suddenly split into 2 long swords, and under the control of his mind, he faced the enemy head-on. Their sword techniques, in front of the Jade Sword Sect's mastery of 10,000 swords, could not even withstand a single blow. As soon as they came into contact with each other, the two sword sheaths quickly dissipated. However, the long sword did not stop and continued to pierce forward. Puchi! The long swords pierced their chests. Sun Yuan and Sun Bao didn't even have the chance to react before they were hit. You! The two of them widened their eyes. First, they looked at the long sword in their chests. Then, they raised their heads in disbelief and looked at Jiangqin. They didn't even know how Jiangqin did it. The formation slowly dissipated. The people outside could finally see the situation. How can this be? Even Sun Yuan and Sun Bao together couldn't injure him? After seeing the situation inside, everyone was shocked. Good job! On the contrary, the people in the Beast Slayer mercenary group were shouting excitedly. Previously, they were sweating for Jiangqin, thinking that today was the end of the mercenary group. But now, the strength that Jiangqin displayed made them feel confident. Even if Zhou Wu's injuries could not recover, they knew that as long as Jiangqin was here, the Beast Slayer mercenary group would not have any problems. A mercenary group was not like an ordinary family or sect. They had no intention of being loyal to Zhou Wu. They just wanted to follow Zhou Wu and earn more immortal jades. Now that Jiangqin's strength was not weaker than his, they were naturally happy. As for whether Zhou Wu could recover or not, it didn't affect them. Who else wants to try? Jiangqin's finger moved and the two long swords were pulled out from their bodies and merged together. After the light dissipated, they turned back into a wooden sword and stuck to Jiangqin's back. This time, no one dared to step forward. If Jiangqin had promised Sun Tianlang before, they still had some thoughts in their hearts. But now, Sun Yuan and Sun Bao couldn't injure Jiangqin at all, which made them completely lose interest. They all knew that they couldn't be Jiangqin's opponent. If they forced themselves to go forward, they would only end up with injuries. Since there's no one else, then get out of here. If anyone dares to cause trouble in the future, you'll have to fight with me first. Glancing at the group of people, Jiangqin said indifferently. Hearing Jiangqin's words, they immediately left. Why don't we try again? Try my ass. Look at how relaxed he is. I'm afraid his true strength is already at the immortal venerable level. If we attack again, we'll lose our lives. As they left, there were also people who were talking non-stop. After they left, only the people from the Heavenly Wolf mercenary group were still standing inside. Take your people and get out of here. But when Sun Tianlang wakes up, tell him that I'll visit your mercenary group in a few days. Looking at these trembling ordinary mercenaries, Jiangqin didn't have any intention of attacking them. He just waved his hand and said. They didn't dare to delay and immediately lifted Sun Tianlang, Sun Yuan, and Sun Bao, who were lying on the ground, and quickly left the manor. The people outside the manor were still craning their necks to watch. In the hall, many people were squeezed inside. Brother Jiangqin is really powerful. After today, your name will spread throughout Mercenary Town. I'm afraid no one will dare to cause trouble in the future. Yeah, I'm afraid that Brother Jiangqin's strength is even higher than Leader Zhou Wu's. This group of people praised Jiangqin. In their hearts, they even regarded Jiangqin as more important than Zhou Wu. After all, when people came to cause trouble, Zhou Wu had a hard time dealing with some immortal venerable cultivators. He wasn't as relaxed as Jiangqin. Go do what you're supposed to do. Listening to their praises, Jiangqin's expression didn't change. Brother Jiangqin, I think you should replace Leader Zhou Wu and become the new leader of our Beast Slayer mercenary group. Just as some people were about to leave, a voice suddenly sounded from among them. When one person spoke, a second and third person followed suit. That's right, Brother Jiangqin. Commander Zhou Wu is seriously injured. We don't know when he'll wake up. Why don't you take his place? In this way, we'll have a better life if we follow you. Chapter 1971. Jiangqin wasn't surprised that they wanted to betray Zhou Wu. However, he wasn't interested in being the leader of the mercenary group. Brother Jiangqin, don't hesitate anymore. Our Beast Slayer mercenary group can't do without a leader. Why don't you take over the leader's position for the time being? When he wakes up, we'll consider returning the position to him." Seeing that Jiang Chen didn't say anything, they thought that he was thinking about this matter and continued to speak. "Stop it! Don't say such things again." Jiang Chen waved his hand and said. Seeing that Jiang Chen had rejected them, they didn't say anything else. However, they were still thinking about how to make Jiang Chen accept the position of leader. After chasing them away, Jiang Chen returned to his room and continued his seclusion. 2 days later, Jiang Chen arrived at the mercenary town next door. "Jiang Chen is here!" Seeing Jiang Chen, the members of the Heavenly Wolf mercenary group suddenly exclaimed. They knew how their leader was injured. "What is he doing here?" Sun Yuan and Sun Bao sat in the hall and held the wound on their chest. Although that sword strike did not take their lives, it still caused them to suffer heavy injuries. At the very least, they would need half a year's time to recover. If Jiang Chen came to find trouble now, no one in the Heavenly Wolf mercenary group could stop him. "Brother Yuan, I forgot to tell you something. When we left the Beast Slayer mercenary group, Jiang Chen said that he would come to visit us." A mercenary standing beside Sun Yuan said. "Is he here to find trouble?" Sun Yuan clenched his fist and trembled. "With our current situation, we can't stop him if he really wants to find trouble. Why don't we relax and see what he wants?" Sun Bao was much calmer than him. "That's true." Hearing his words, Sun Yuan relaxed. Under the guidance of the two mercenaries, Jiang Chen walked into the hall. Although they had just relaxed, Sun Yuan and Sun Bao still felt nervous when they saw Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen's strength made them unable to fathom at all. "Jiang Chen, we've already stopped attacking your Beast Slayer mercenary group. Why are you still here?" Suppressing the fear in his heart, Sun Yuan tried to make himself look as normal as possible. "Oh? Didn't they tell you?" Jiang Chen placed his hands behind his back and said indifferently. "Since you've lost, you have to accept your loss. I'm here to question you, so you have to tell me the truth. Otherwise, I'm afraid there's no need for your Heavenly Wolf mercenary group to exist in Mercenary Town." "What are you talking about?" Many people's bodies trembled. They didn't doubt him. They knew Jiang Chen was really strong. "Jiang Chen, what are you trying to do?" In the hall, everyone stared at Jiang Chen. "Don't be afraid. I'm just here to ask questions. As long as you answer honestly, I won't do anything to you." Jiang Chen smiled and said when he saw that they were facing a great enemy. "What do you want to know?" After Jiang Chen said that he would not do anything, Sun Yuan and Sun Bao heaved a sigh of relief. "Where's Sun Tianlang? Has he woken up?" Jiang Chen glanced around and asked. "Leader Sun is recuperating inside." Sun Yuan stared at Jiang Chen and said, "Jiang Chen, whatever you want to know, just ask us. As long as you don't hurt our Heavenly Wolf mercenary group, we'll tell you everything we know." "You don't know." Jiang Chen shook his head. "Come with me." Sun Yuan did not dare to disobey Jiang Chen, and could only lead him into the mercenary group. After stopping outside a room that was strictly guarded by mercenaries, Sun Yuan pointed inside and said, "Leader is inside. I'm warning you, don't do anything excessive. Although we're all injured, the strength of our mercenary group is not something you can underestimate." All right, I know. Don't say any more." Jiang Chen was a little annoyed by Sun Yuan's words and said with a wave of his hand. He then pushed open the door and walked in. Seeing Jiang Chen walk in, Sun Tianlang jumped in fright and hurriedly shrank to the side of the bed. He did not know how Jiang Chen had entered, but he knew that in his current condition, he was no match for Jiang Chen. He would not even have the chance to resist and would be killed in an instant. "Leader Sun, don't be afraid. I'm only here to ask a few questions. As long as you tell me honestly, I won't make things difficult for you." Jiang Chen sat by the bed and said with a smile. "What do you want to ask?" Sun Tianlang swallowed his saliva. "The Vermilion Bird Clan." Jiang Chen closed the door and said indifferently, "Tell me everything you know about the Vermilion Bird Clan. Otherwise, there's no need for your Heavenly Wolf mercenary group to exist in the Immortal Realm." As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen reached out with his hand. An extremely vigorous wave of immortal power rose, but it only lasted for a moment before completely dissipating. Even the fluctuation of immortal power did not spread out. Immortal Duke? Sun Tianlang was stunned when he felt the fluctuation of Jiang Chen's immortal power. Although he was in the immortal realm, he had seen immortal dukes come to Mercenary Town after so many years. The strength that Jiang Chen had just displayed was on par with those immortal dukes. Do you know what to do in the future? Jiang Chen smiled. Lord Jiang Chen, don't worry. I won't tell anyone about your strength. Sun Tianlang was very sensible. He immediately endured the pain in his body and stood up. He quickly cupped his hands at Jiang Chen. That's right. Leader Sun, please tell me what you know. Jiang Chen nodded. Lord Jiang Chen, actually, I don't know much about the Vermilion Bird tribe. I only know that this tribe seems to have lived in the wild forest for a period of time. Moreover, I've lived in Mercenary Town for hundreds of years, but I've never heard anything about them. Sun Tianlang's eyes were filled with shock. When he learned about Jiang Chen's true cultivation level, he did not dare to lie at all. Continue, Jiang Chen said. But it seems to be more than 100 years ago. When I was leading people to hunt ferocious beasts in the wild forest, I accidentally went deep into the forest. I think I saw a very large palace. Sun Tianlang thought for a moment and said, The residence of the Vermilion Bird tribe? Jiang Chen was interested. I don't know. The palace was very dilapidated. I didn't pay attention at that time. I just took a quick glance and hurriedly ran for my life. Sun Tianlang shook his head and continued. At that time, we encountered a ferocious beast at the 8th level of the immortal realm. We were no match for it at all. I lost hundreds of subordinates, and even I was injured. I was lucky to escape. I'm not interested in how you got out. Continue to tell me what you know. Jiang Chen waved his hand and interrupted him. Chapter 1972. I don't know anything else. Sun Tianlang shook his head and said. After that, I didn't dare to go into the depths of the desolate forest anymore. I was afraid of encountering those ferocious beasts with strong cultivation. Moreover, I heard that no one in the entire mercenary town dared to mention this matter. What you know is of no use to me. Jiang Chen frowned slightly. Lord Jiang Chen. Sun Tianlang broke out in a cold sweat when he heard Jiang Chen's words. The person in front of him was an immortal duke. Even if all the captains in Mercenary Town worked together, they wouldn't be a match for him. If Sun Tianlang wasn't satisfied with the information he had provided and wanted to kill him, then his life would be over. Are you afraid that I'll kill you? Jiang Chen asked with a faint smile when he saw him looking as if he was facing a great enemy. Of course. Sun Tianlang shuddered. Recuperate well. Don't tell anyone about me. Jiang Chen got up and walked out. He couldn't help but feel disappointed that two mercenary groups didn't know anything about the Vermilion Bird tribe. Sun Tianlang heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Jiang Chen leave. However, a figure immediately appeared in his mind. He hurriedly said, Lord Jiang Chen, why don't you go to the east of the town to take a look? You might find the answer you want there. Oh? What do you mean? Jiang Chen stopped in his tracks and raised his eyebrows. There's an old hunter living there. It's said that he's been living here since before Mercenary Town was established. Every year, we would ask him for advice, and he would tell us about the situation in the desolate forest. Lord Jiang Chen, if you really want to know about the Vermilion Bird tribe, you should go and ask him. That old hunter might know something. Sun Tianlang coughed twice and said, Is that so? Jiang Chen's interest was piqued. It's absolutely true. I wouldn't dare to lie to Lord Jiang Chen. Sun Tianlang struggled to stand up, cupped his hands at Jiang Chen, and spoke. If I can get the information, I'll reward you handsomely. Jiang Chen smiled and pushed the door open. Looking at Jiang Chen's departing figure, Sun Tianlang's body went limp and he fell off the bed. He didn't seek any benefits at all, and he only hoped that Jiang Chen would show mercy and let them live. When facing an immortal monarch, he truly didn't have the slightest confidence to go against an immortal monarch. Commander. As soon as Jiang Chen left, Sun Yuan, Sun Bao, and the others rushed into the room. They helped Sun Tianlang up from the ground. Leader, that brat Jiang Chen didn't make things difficult for you, right? Sun Yuan gritted his teeth as he looked at Jiang Chen's figure. I didn't make things difficult for him. He just asked me about some things. Sun Tianlang waved his hand and said, Remember, don't ever offend this person again. Why? Sun Yuan and Sun Bao didn't understand. They thought that even if Jiang Chen had some strength, he wouldn't exceed an immortal monarch. Their Heavenly Wolf mercenary group had existed in Mercenary Town for hundreds of years and knew some experts above the immortal monarch realm. If they really asked them for help, they would definitely be able to make Jiang Chen die without a burial place. There's no why. Just remember my words in your heart. If anyone offends Jiang Chen, then leave the Heavenly Wolf mercenary group. Don't bring trouble to us. Do you understand? How could Sun Tianlang not understand what they were thinking? Hence, he immediately shouted in a low voice. Understood, Commander. Sun Yuan and Sun Bao didn't dare to disobey and could only bury their doubts in their hearts. Go out. I want to have a good rest. I'll leave the mercenary group to you for the time being. Also, I'll remind you again, don't offend Jiang Chen. Sun Tianlang lay on the bed and waved his hand at them as if all the strength in his body had been sucked out. Yes. The two nodded again. After leaving the Heavenly Wolf mercenary group, Jiang Chen walked towards the east. This town was already the easternmost town. Jiang Chen left the city gate and looked into the distance. Indeed, at the end of his line of sight, in a position adjacent to the wild forest, he saw a thatched hut. An old hunter? Jiang Chen shrugged. Thinking that Sun Tianlang didn't have the guts to deceive him, Jiang Chen directly rushed over. After about half an incense stick's time, Jiang Chen walked to the front of the thatched hut. This was a very shabby thatched hut. Some very simple hunter's tools were placed outside the door. There was also a big dog tied to the door. However, when the dog saw Jiang Chen, not only did it not bark, it even looked up at Jiang Chen and lowered its head to continue sleeping. I'm being despised by a dog? Jiang Chen's vision turned black and he almost fainted from anger. Senior, are you at home? It was just a dog, so Jiang Chen didn't bother with it. Instead, he walked to the front of the thatched hut and lightly knocked on the wooden door a few times as he asked in a deep voice. Who is it? A rather old voice came from inside the hut. This junior is Jiang Chen. I've just arrived at Mercenary Town not long ago. Now that I'm a member of the Beast Slayer mercenary group, I'm here to visit Senior and ask about something. Jiang Chen took a deep breath and said, Now is not the time for me to accept your visit. If you have any questions, come back half a year later. The old man replied very quickly. Half a year? Jiang Chen frowned. He didn't have that much time to wait here. Senior, I do have something important to ask you. As long as you can tell me, I'm willing to pay a price. Jiang Chen looked inside through the gap in the wooden door and continued. You're very sincere. Unexpectedly, the old man who had rejected him righteously earlier was now wavering. Sure enough, all crows in the world are equally black. Jiang Chen muttered to himself as he pushed open the door and walked into the courtyard. In the courtyard, other than a large piece of cultivated farmland, there was only a stone table and a few stone stools at the side. It looked very simple. Moreover, the farmland was already full of weeds that were taller than a person. If he hadn't heard the voice coming from inside, Jiang Chen would have thought that no one had lived here for decades. Kid, at my age, I'm no longer interested in immortal jades. If you really have a question, then tidy up my land. Just as Jiang Chen was looking inside, the voice came from inside the thatched hut. I'm the young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. I have nearly 20 immortal kings and countless immortal monarchs under me. Now, I'm actually doing farm work here. However, thinking that he had to ask about the Vermilion Bird clan, Jiang Chen could only agree. Chapter 1973. It looked like a small piece of farmland, but it took more than 6 hours for Jiangchen to finish cleaning it up. Senior, I'm done. Jiangchen exhaled 2 mouthfuls of turbid air and looked at the dirt on his hands. Come in then. A voice sounded. Jiangchen washed his hands and pushed open the door of the straw hut. An old man in a linen robe was sitting in the living room. Although he was an old man, his hair was only half white and there were not many wrinkles on his face. Even his eyes were full of vigor. Senior, I came here this time because I have something very important to ask you. After walking in, Jiangchen cupped his hands and said, Tell me and see if I know. The old man poured a cup of tea for Jiangchen and pushed it in front of him. Senior, have you heard of the Vermilion Bird Clan? Jiangchen sat in front of him and held a cup of warm tea with both hands. I've heard of them. Isn't it the spiritual beast clan that was exterminated in the wild forest hundreds of thousands of years ago? When they were still around, the old man blurted out. However, he stopped halfway through his sentence. Senior, have you met them before? Jiangchen looked at the old man in front of him. That has nothing to do with you. The old man sized up Jiangchen and asked, Your cultivation level should be around the 5th level of the immortal realm. Why are you interested in information about the Vermilion Bird Clan? Are you related to them in some way? I can't tell you that. Jiangchen hesitated for a moment before he cupped his hands and said. He did not even tell Bai Shaoyan about the sword technique in the Vermilion Bird Talisman sword, let alone the old man in front of him. Jiangchen was only asking about the situation and was not familiar with the old man in front of him. Naturally, he would not tell him everything. If you don't tell me, I won't tell you either. You'd better leave. The old man waved his hand. Senior, I sincerely want to ask. As long as you can tell me everything you know about the Vermilion Bird Clan, I can fulfill any of your wishes. As for immortal jades or other things, as long as you say it, I can do it. Jiangchen took a deep breath and said, No. I've told you before that at my age, I'm no longer interested in worldly possessions. The old man waved his hand at Jiangchen. His attitude was very firm. If you want to know the situation from me, unless you tell me your true intentions, I won't tell you anything. This is my rule. If you don't believe me, you can ask anyone in Mercenary Town. Senior, after I tell you, don't tell anyone. Jiangchen frowned. Of course. The old man shook his head. Some time ago, I coincidentally obtained the Vermilion Bird Clan's wooden talisman sword and the sword technique within the sword. However, only after obtaining the special mark of the Vermilion Bird Clan would I be able to completely grasp the sword technique and unleash the greatest might of the wooden talisman sword. Jiangchen looked at him for a while and said helplessly, Vermilion Bird wooden talisman sword? The old man raised his head and saw the wooden sword hilt on Jiangchen's back. That's right. Jiangchen nodded in agreement. Show me the sword. The old man looked at Jiangchen with a complicated expression. Jiangchen pulled out the wooden sword and placed it in front of him. Kid, you didn't lie? This is indeed something from the Vermilion Bird Clan. The old man picked up the wooden sword and looked at it carefully. His hand stroked the sword as he said, Senior, are you very familiar with the Vermilion Bird Clan? Hearing this, Jiangchen's interest was immediately piqued and he hurriedly asked, Not really. Even though they have declined, they are still a famous spirit beast clan. I'm just an old hunter who hunts fierce beasts for a living. The old man shook his head and placed the wooden sword in front of Jiangchen. Then, Senior, do you know anything about the Vermilion Bird Clan? In the past few days I've lived in the mercenary town. I've asked many people. However, they either didn't know or knew very little. The information they gave me was almost completely useless. Jiangchen hooked his finger, and the wooden sword returned to his back. That's very normal. Ordinary mercenaries here don't know anything about the Vermilion Bird Clan. Even I know very little about them. The old man said with a smile. Then, Senior, can you tell me more about them? Jiangchen looked at him and asked in a low voice. The Vermilion Bird Clan. I don't know what happened hundreds of thousands of years ago, but they suddenly declined from being one of the top spirit beasts in the world. In the end, they could only hide in the wild forests. From what I know, they didn't last for long. It seems that around 300,000 years ago, this clan could be said to have completely disappeared. Although there may be survivors of the Vermilion Bird clan in the immortal realm, they are very few in number. Moreover, they don't dare to show their faces and can only hide in their shells. The old man reached out and closed the door of the wooden house. Could it be? When he heard the old man mention this again, Jiangqin couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Could it be that the Vermilion Bird clan is also a clan under my command? After all, with the Azure Python Heavenly Snake clan and the Sky-Devouring Golden Dragon clan as precedents, Jiangqin was now a little nervous. Could it be what? The old man asked. Nothing. Senior, please continue. Jiangqin shook his head. If you want to obtain the Vermilion Bird clan's mark, the best way is to fight your way into the depths of the wild forests. They seem to have left their residence there. Perhaps there will be a way. However, with your current cultivation, you don't seem to have the ability to do so. The old man continued. Then, Senior, do you have a way? Jiangqin sat up straight and asked. The old man had hit the nail on the head. No. If I could forcibly raise your cultivation base, I wouldn't be sitting here as a hunter. In the immortal plane, just go to any of the top sects, and they would treat me like their old ancestor. The old man shook his head. Then, Senior, have you been there before? Jiangqin was a little unwilling to give up. I have indeed been there before, but that was thousands of years ago. Now that my cultivation is far inferior to before and I haven't gone hunting in the mountains for a long time, I'm afraid I don't have the qualifications to go into the depths of the wild forests. However, I may have something here that will be very useful to you. The old man stroked the very short beard on his chin. What? Jiangqin was taken aback. He hurriedly asked. Come out with me. The old man finished the tea in front of him and stood up to walk outside. Jiangqin hurriedly followed behind him. When he walked to the edge of the courtyard wall, the old man slowly squatted down. After digging a few times in the ground, he pulled out something that looked like a wooden stick wrapped in soil. Here, this is it. The old man handed the wooden stick to Jiangqin. Chapter 1974. What is this thing? Jiangqin glanced at it. If the old man was not in front of him, he would have immediately thrown it away. Not only does this thing look like a piece of wood, it even emits a trace of urine smell. Phew! The old man gently blew out a breath. The soil on the wooden stick was immediately cleared. Only then did Jiangqin see clearly that the thing in his hand was not a wooden stick at all. It was a scabbard. The scabbard of the Vermilion Bird Talisman's sword. Looking at the color of the wood and the similar Loki shape, Jiangqin suddenly asked in surprise. Maybe. A few years ago, I once picked up this thing in the wild forest. I knew it was not an ordinary item, but it was useless to me, so I could only throw it here. Thousands of years have passed and this thing has always been here. If not for seeing your wooden sword today, I would have forgotten about it. The old man smiled and said. Then its smell. Jiangqin smelled the urine smell and asked with an embarrassed expression. Oh, you have to ask it. The old man pointed to the yellow dog at the gate and said. When it lived in the courtyard, it might have peed in the corner a few times. Jiangqin was speechless. He hurriedly urged the immortal energy in his body to get rid of all the smell. Pulling out the talisman sword, Jiangqin closed it in the scabbard. The two fit together seamlessly. Thank you, Senior. Jiangqin held the wooden sword with one hand and said to the old man with cupped hands. This thing is useless in my hands. If you like it, you can take it. However, you have to give me some immortal jade. The old man put his hands behind his back and showed a kind smile. Well said. Jiangqin agreed and said. Senior, please say it. Seeing that you are so straightforward, I won't ask for much. 5 billion immortal jade, no bargaining. As long as you give it to me, then this scabbard will be yours in the future. The old man stretched out 5 fingers towards Jiangqin. 5 billion? Jiang Chun was so shocked that his jaw dropped. He almost threw away the scabbard in his hand. However, despite his shock, Jiang Chun did not refuse. Although the price was indeed a little high, the scabbard of the vermilion bird talisman sword was definitely not an ordinary item. If he didn't buy it now, he definitely wouldn't be able to buy it in the future. Moreover, he now had the Ganges bank and the money-earning skeleton. Although 5 billion was a lot, he could still afford it. If you don't want it, then give it back to me. Seeing Jiang Chun hesitate, the old man reached out to take the scabbard back. Senior, is this what you meant when you said that you're too old to be interested in worldly possessions like immortal jades? Jiang Chen's mouth twitched. He held the thing in his hand tightly. Senior, is this what you meant by old age? Do you want it? The old man asked. Yes. Jiang Chen endured the pain in his heart and nodded. If he didn't take this thing, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Okay, then hand over the money. The old man reached out his hand to Jiang Chen. After rummaging through his storage ring, Jiang Chen took out a dozen promissory notes and handed them over. TSK, you're really rich. Looks like 5 billion immortal jades is still too little. Seeing Jiang Chen's straightforward action, the old man felt a wave of regret in his heart. This is all I have. If Senior wants another 100 million immortal jades, I won't be able to take it out. Jiang Chen bitterly laughed. Okay, then I'll sell you the scabbard of the vermilion bird talisman sword. The old man let go of the scabbard, counted the promissory notes, and stuffed them all into his sleeve. Okay. Jiang Chen heaved a sigh of relief. Seeing that you're so straightforward, I'll give you another piece of information. If you want to enter the depths of the wild forest, there's more than one way. The old man nodded in satisfaction and pointed at the forest not far from the courtyard. Oh? What other way is there? Jiang Chen suddenly trembled and hurriedly asked. Of course, this is just what I heard. I don't know if it's true or not. At the entrance of the wild forest, there's a very hidden passage. It seems to be an escape passage that the Vermilion Bird clan once prepared to deal with disasters. However, no one can be sure whether it's really there or whether it can be used to enter the depths of the forest. The old man waved his hand and said, Senior, do you know anything else? Jiang Chen took note of what he said. I've almost forgotten everything else. I'll tell you when I think of it. The old man turned around and walked back into the thatched hut with his hands behind his back. Okay, thank you, Senior. Seeing that he went back, Jiang Chen didn't stop him. Instead, he pushed open the door of the courtyard and went back. After Jiang Chen left the courtyard, the old man sat on a stool in the living room and coughed twice. He's gone out. You all can come out. As his words fell, several young people walked out of the room. They were all wearing the disciple robes of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, and the inconspicuous old man in a linen robe in front of them was the 10th Mountain Master of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, Zhan Yu. 10th Mountain Master, is that Jiang Chen? The few of them looked outside in unison. Yes, he's Jiang Chen. Zhan Yu nodded and said, This kid previously robbed several sects in the Celestial Mountain. Now, I finally have a chance. The few of you, go back to the Kunlun Celestial Mountain immediately and ask the 9th Mountain Master Xian Yu and the 6th Mountain Master Wei Yu to send a few trustworthy disciples to me. Take back the Celestial Jade promissory notes, and return them to the sects that suffered losses. Also, don't tell them about Jiang Chen's whereabouts. Remember? Remember, 10th Mountain Master. The disciples nodded repeatedly. After agreeing, they walked out of the courtyard. On the other hand, Jiang Chen didn't know about this matter. He took the scabbard and returned to the Beast Slayer mercenary group. As soon as he entered the door, before he could rest for a while, he saw someone led in by his subordinate. Brother Jiang Chen, since we killed the 2 fierce beasts in the divine immortal state, more and more people have been coming to sell them, but Commander Zhou Wu was injured. We weren't sure whether you would go into the wild forest or not. We were going to turn them down for the time being, but these 2 insisted on coming here. After entering the hall, the subordinate immediately walked up to Jiang Chen and said, What do you want? Jiang Chen waved his hand to dismiss his subordinate, then looked up at them and asked. 3 billion for a first-tier divine immortal realm fire attributed ferocious beast. 2. 5 billion, as long as it's a divine immortal realm ferocious beast. The two people who came in said almost at the same time. Both of you, I've already told you. Now that our captain is seriously injured, there's only brother Jiang Chen in the mercenary group. Why don't you wait for a while? The subordinate was afraid that Jiang Chen would be angry with him. Before Jiang Chen could speak, he continued to say to the two people. Chapter 1975. Wait. 5 billion celestial jades. Since it's delivered to my door, how can I not accept it? Jiang Chen stopped his subordinate and said with a smile. I knew your beast slayer mercenary group had such strength. The two men burst into laughter. In the entire mercenary town, it seemed that no one except the beast slayer mercenary group could kill two divine celestial realm ominous beasts at the same time. Please go back. I'll send someone to inform you when the time comes, Jiang Chen said with a smile. As soon as they left, the subordinate came up to Jiang Chen. Brother Jiang Chen, Leader Zhou Wu is injured and our brothers have suffered heavy casualties. Let alone two, I'm afraid even one ominous beast is difficult to deal with. The subordinate looked excited. It was impossible for the beast slayer mercenary group to complete such a task. Who said we should do it? Jiang Chen said with a smile. Brother Jiang Chen, do you know other experts? The subordinate became excited. Go and inform leaders Sun Tianlang and Chen Tai of the Wolf Head mercenary group. Tell them to follow me into the mountain tomorrow. If they can complete the task, I'll give them 2 billion celestial jades, Jiang Chen said with a smile. 2 divine celestial realm ominous beasts. He didn't need the help of the experts around him. He could easily deal with them himself. But the two mercenary groups don't have a good relationship with us. Especially Sun Tianlang. A few days ago, he attacked in the manor. The subordinate didn't understand Jiang Chen's words. Just go. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Jiang Chen frowned and slapped him on the head. After the subordinate felt the pain, he didn't dare to say anything and quickly ran away. What surprised the subordinate was that when he brought Jiang Chen's news to them, he assumed that Sun Tianlang and Chen Tai would reject him, and they might even beat him up. However, the two immediately nodded and agreed. They also told him to tell Jiang Chen that they would be waiting outside the town with the elites of their respective mercenary groups tomorrow morning. This news did not surprise Jiang Chen. Of course, the reason why he agreed to these two sellers was that receiving celestial jade was only secondary. More importantly, he wanted these two mercenary groups to go to the wild forest to hunt wild beasts of the immortal realm. Jiang Chen, on the other hand, wanted to see if there was the passage that the old man had mentioned. The next morning, Jiang Chen didn't bring anyone from the Beast Slayer mercenary group with him. He just carried the rune wooden sword with his hands behind his back and slowly walked out of the town. Sun Tianlang and Chen Tai were waiting outside. Captain Sun's injuries don't seem to have recovered yet. Why don't you go back and rest? Seeing the pale-faced Sun Tianlang sitting in the wooden carriage, Jiang Chen frowned slightly and said, Let Sun Yuan and Sun Bao follow me. No need. My body is fine. Sun Tianlang hurriedly explained. Brother Jiang Chen, the Beast Slayer mercenary group has suffered great losses. Why don't you quit and join our Wolf Head mercenary group? I'll give you the position of captain, and I'll be the vice captain. How about it? When Jiang Chen walked to his side, Chen Tai looked at Jiang Chen with a smile and said in a low voice. He had seen Jiang Chen's strength. It was enough to make him give up his position and only be the vice captain. He would give the position of captain to Jiang Chen. He knew that with Jiang Chen around, their Wolf Head mercenary group would definitely become the #1 mercenary group in the entire mercenary town. Although he spoke in a low voice, Sun Tianlang and the others weren't deaf. Naturally, they could hear him clearly. This bastard. Sun Tianlang cursed inwardly. Captain, where did this Jiang Chen come from? Why is Chen Tai so polite to him? Sun Yuan was very puzzled. Don't ask if you don't understand. Sun Tianlang didn't explain, but he had already made up his mind to get Jiang Qin to join their Heavenly Wolf mercenary group before Chen Tai did. Otherwise, they might be suppressed by the Wolf Head mercenary group in the future. I'm not interested in your mercenary group. Jiang Qin smiled and said, You don't have to worry about me. I'll leave the Beast Slayer mercenary group sooner or later. Brother Jiang Qin, do you mean to say that you'll establish your own mercenary group in Mercenary Town in the future? Chen Tai keenly captured Jiang Qin's meaning and hurriedly said, Then Brother Jiang Qin, our Wolf Head mercenary group will join you. Our Heavenly Wolf mercenary group too. Sun Tianlang didn't want to be outdone and hurriedly said, Let's talk about this later. I'm not interested in it now. Jiang Qin waved his hand. He couldn't be bothered to talk about this with them. He raised his hand and pointed at the wild forest in the distance and said, Before that, I hope you can complete the mission I've given you. Otherwise, even if I accept you in the future, you'll be useless to me. No problem. Don't worry, Brother Jiang Qin. Sun Tianlang and Chen Tai said at the same time. The two mercenary groups moved. Jiang Qin followed behind them with his hands behind his back. They entered the wild forest. Jiang Qin ordered the two groups to split up and search for the divine immortal realm ferocious beasts. When they had all disappeared into the forest, Jiang Qin also started to look for the passage. However, since it was a passage used by the vermilion bird race to escape, it must have been disguised. Moreover, since hundreds of thousands of years had passed, who knew whether it had already collapsed? But compared to rushing directly into the depths of the forest, this was obviously a better idea. 2 hours, 4 hours, several hours passed, but Jiang Qin still didn't find any clues. And in the forest, he could vaguely hear Sun Tianlang and Chen Tai fighting ferocious beasts. The immortal energy fluctuations caused by the fight could be felt. Sensing that they were about to collapse, Jiang Qin patted the dirt off his butt and quickly followed in. If these people died in there, then if he wanted to earn more immortal jades, he would have to do it himself. All of you, hold on. If we can't get rid of this fire-type ferocious beast in front of us today, I'm afraid Jiang Qin will be disappointed in us. Sun Tianlang's injuries had not fully recovered. When he fought with the ferocious beast, he was slapped on the back. Not only his clothes, but even a piece of his flesh was torn off. But now, he couldn't care less about his injuries. His mind was filled with thoughts of how to get rid of the ferocious beast in front of him. If he disappointed Jiang Qin, then he would have no chance of riding on his coattails. Leader, I'm afraid we can't hold on any longer, Sun Yuan and Sun Bao said with some pain. If they weren't injured, it wouldn't be a problem for the three of them to work together to get rid of a divine immortal realm ferocious beast. But now, the three of them were injured by Jiang Qin. They couldn't even use a third of their strength before. Chapter 1976. I have to hold on even if I can't. Sun Tianlang clenched his teeth tightly as blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Even his consciousness was gradually becoming blurry. Swoosh! A cold light flashed in the dark forest. It directly passed through the head of the beast. The beast, which had been struggling fiercely and had almost wiped out the entire Heavenly Wolf mercenary group, was now lying on the ground. Lord Jiang Qin. Sun Tianlang let out a long sigh of relief when Jiang Qin rushed over. Jiang Qin had rushed over. He knew that the sudden death of the beast was definitely caused by Jiang Qin. Only Jiang Qin, who had the strength of an immortal lord, could have done this. Are your injuries serious? Jiang Qin glanced at him and asked. Not serious, not serious. Sun Tianlang coughed and completely ignored his injuries. He struggled to stand up and said, Lord Jiang Qin, our Heavenly Wolf mercenary group's strength is definitely not limited to this. It was only because we were injured that it was a little difficult to deal with it. Do you mean that you're blaming me for injuring you? Jiang Qin raised his eyebrows. Absolutely not. Sun Tianlang immediately perked up when he heard this. He hurriedly waved his hands and denied it. We only have ourselves to blame. We came here to humiliate ourselves. Leader! After a while, Sun Yuan and the others also ran over. They did not think that it was Jiang Chen who had done it. Instead, they thought that it was their leader who had done it. Bring the beast back. Jiang Chen was not interested in talking to this group of people. He waved his hand and said. As soon as his voice echoed, Chintai followed Jiang Chen's aura and came over. When he saw that the ferocious beast in front of him had already been killed, his expression became unpleasant. He didn't expect that Sun Tianlang and the others would still have the ability to kill the vicious beasts even when they were injured. Their speed was almost the same as theirs. Brother Jiangchen, we've killed the fierce beasts. Chintai walked in front of Jiangchen and said, Looks like my luck is pretty good this time. I've just entered the forest, and I've already found a dire beast. Jiangchen nodded and said with a smile, Since you've already gotten it, let's go back. The 2 billion immortal jades each for the two of you. When I get it from the buyer, I will send someone to give it to you. Don't worry, we're not interested in immortal jades. That's right, brother Jiangchen. Immortal jade is nothing. Sun Tianlang and Chintai waved their hands and said in unison. These words left the Heavenly Wolf mercenaries dumbstruck. They did not know why these mercenaries, who usually valued immortal jades more than their lives, had suddenly lost interest in immortal jades. That was 2 billion immortal jades. Act according to the rules. Let's go back. Jiangchen waved his hand and said. Sun Tianlang arranged for his subordinates to carry the ferocious beast onto the wooden cart. Chintai also turned back to inform the others. However, just as everyone heaved a sigh of relief and was preparing to receive the immortal jade, a wave of energy that was even stronger than before suddenly came from the forest. Celestial Venerable Spiritual Beast! Sensing this aura, the members of the Heavenly Wolf mercenaries were so frightened that their legs went weak. They did not know why these ferocious beasts, which lived in the deeper parts of the forest, would suddenly appear here. Although similar situations had happened in the past, there were hundreds of mercenary groups in the entire mercenary town. It would only happen once or twice in 1,000 years. And now, it was such a coincidence that they had encountered it. Chintai was also stunned on the spot. His legs were stiff, and he did not even have the strength to move forward. A ferocious beast with the strength of a celestial venerable was not something they could fight against. Lord Jiangchen. Sun Tianlang swallowed his saliva. He was the only one in the group who knew Jiangchen's strength. As an immortal monarch, dealing with a celestial venerable ferocious beast would not be a problem. However, he did not know if Jiangchen would save their lives. You guys take it and leave. Jiangchen's expression was incomparably relaxed. Brother Jiangchen, let's leave quickly. A celestial venerable ferocious beast is not something we can kill. I'm afraid that we won't be able to hurt it with just a few of us. Seeing that Jiangchen had no intention of leaving, Chintai hurriedly came back to persuade him. While he was speaking, Sun Tianlang had already sensibly ordered his subordinates to take the ferocious beast and leave. He knew that Jiangchen would protect them. At the same time, he also knew that they would not be of any help if they stayed here. On the contrary, they might even be a burden to Jiangchen. You guys! Brother Jiangchen, don't try to show off! Seeing that Sun Tianlang and the others had left, and seeing that Jiangchen did not look like he was joking, Chintai hurriedly ran towards his subordinates. After they left, Jiangchen looked towards the depths of the forest. This was his first time fighting a celestial venerable ferocious beast. Fighting. In the 10 seconds of silence, Jiangchen sensed that Sun Tianlang, Chintai, and the others had all left the desolate forest. As for him, he would be able to unleash all of his strength. Roar! The ferocious beast rushed out. Jiangchen's eyes were fixed on its body. It was a lion with a pair of wings, but those wings seemed to have degenerated. A celestial venerable ferocious beast. If it was sold, wouldn't it be worth tens of billions of celestial jades? Jiangchen stared at it. Although that was what he said, the inner core of such a ferocious beast was a great supplement. After consuming it, it might not increase one's cultivation, but it was at least beneficial and harmless. As if it understood Jiang Chen's words, the ferocious beast roared. As it flapped its wings, its four hooves seemed like it was about to leap into the air. Under its powerful aura, many ferocious beasts in the surroundings retreated, and the trees in front of Jiang Chen were smashed into pieces. Seal of ice. The best way to deal with such a ferocious beast was to let it calm down. Jiang Chen formed the seal with both hands, and an icy aura spread out. The ferocious beast was instantly stunned. Even if it used all of its strength and mobilized all of its cultivation, it couldn't advance even half a step. Dashing in front of it, Jiang Chen smiled. A celestial, venerable, ferocious beast should have evolved to become sentient. If you tell me about the situation in the depths of the desolate forest, I might consider letting you go. Roar! The ferocious beast roared. Looks like you don't want to. Jiang Chen frowned slightly, then smacked its head with his palm. Under Jiang Chen's vigorous immortal energy, the ferocious beast couldn't resist despite its good cultivation and strong body. When the immortal energy hit its head, its aura instantly dissipated. TSK, a celestial venerable. I don't know how many years you've cultivated to reach your current cultivation. If you don't listen to me, you'll die. Grabbing its leg, Jiang Chen walked out of the desolate forest. If it were before, Jiang Chen would definitely put it in his storage ring to prevent the people of Mercenary Town from seeing it and discovering his true strength. But now, Jiang Chen wouldn't hide it. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.